We got to our third season, and he said, let's not fall into a slump. Let's change it. And boy, did we change it. This quote from writer and producer Stephen L. Sears epitomizes the creative direction of the Xena series after its first 2 seasons. With much of the cast and crew intact, executive producer Robert Tapert laid out the plan for the next 22 episodes. It was decided to put the relationship between the warrior princess and the Bard of Podadia to the ultimate test. A multitude of gut-wrenching moments between our 2 heroines resulted in a much darker viewing experience throughout the season. This series of episodes became a part of what is now known as The Rift, one of the most intense periods in the show's run. Xena and Gabrielle endure much pain and heartbreak, causing both to question themselves and their bond, early and often. When their quarrel reaches a crisis point, it is solved in a way that took many by surprise. At the same time, a great evil aspiring for world domination is introduced, threatening not only the end of humanity, but the end of the gods. Xena's past is further explored, introducing us to memorable characters and taking the production value to new heights. And of course, we still had plenty of funniness to balance out all of the dramatic events from the season. My name is Aaron, and without any further ado, let's look back at exactly how much of a crazy roller coaster this series was from late 1997 to the spring of 1998. This is A Tale of Xena Warrior Princess, Season 3. The Furies, written by R.J. Stewart and directed by Gilbert Chilton, kicked off the new season on September 29th, 1997. It is sexy time in the Temple of the Furies. The God of War reminds Alecto that this is strictly business. Ares claims that Xena has committed a crime worthy of harsh punishment. Alecto and the other Furies unanimously find the warrior princess guilty. As for the punishment, persecution or madness? How about persecution and madness? Alecto obliges and affirms Xena's impending punishment to the cosmos. Cool. Our 2 heroines are back, as Gabrielle bets Xena she could beat her in a race. The young bard heads off before the word go, but still manages to lose. Great, another warlord and his minions. A bounty has been placed on Xena's head, and these dweebs are looking to cash in. There are less painful ways to make a dinar, but why not fight again? Xena and Gabrielle brawl with the goons in their trademark tag team fashion. During the battle, Alecto busts rhymes that put the finishing touches on Xena's punishment. Suddenly, the warrior princess channels in the power of the 3 Stooges. Although she still dominates, it's clear to Gabrielle that something is wrong. Xena offers this dude his sword back before kicking it up in the air and letting gravity do its thing. Nothing like smelling some warrior sweat in the morning. Xena spins her chakram on her finger like a basketball and juggles like a pro. Gabrielle points out how strange this behavior is coming from the warrior princess. Don't be ridiculous, Mavis. Great ad-lib from Lawless. When Xena uses the pinch on the main warlord, she asks him the million dinar question. How old was he when he lost his virginity? Gabrielle interrupts and asks who was responsible for the bounty. Turns out it was a priest from the Temple of the Furies. To the temple! Come on, Xena, do it for your friend! Okay. An alley-oop flip to Argo sets them off with Xena sitting on the horse backwards. Great stunt. At a campfire, Gabrielle contemplates the many crimes the Fates could have punished Xena for. But all the warrior princess cares about is how those daisies look on her head. Doesn't she look adorable when she sleeps? Gabrielle wakes up to find Xena's entire outfit laid out on a log. The unclothed warrior princess is in the middle of a rant in front of villagers, folks she views as evil incarnate. Crying out for justice on behalf of fallen women and children, Gabrielle tells Xena the people she's looking at are women and children. The jet black-haired heroine breaks down in tears, a shocking display of vulnerability on her part. Gabrielle tells her friend they'll get through this. Nice work from both actresses here. The next day, in this temple straight out of the Titans, the two heroines visit the priest. Xena continues going crazy as he describes what she's being punished for, failing to avenge the murder of her father. This only accelerates her inner turbulence as she pushes the young bard away and takes off running. She sees Bacchus from Girls Just Wanna Have Fun in this tree as the hysteria intensifies. Hearing her scream while she runs in this sequence is surreal. The next hallucination involves those flying triads, with Xena unable to land a hit on the phantom menaces. When she turns around, she sees Callisto! Gabrielle desperately asks her friend to put the sword down, but Xena rushes her over to this tree. As she ties the helpless young bard down, the warrior princess channels in her inner Shakespeare, noting that to the gods, they are nothing but dirty little beetles, and they'll kill them for their sport. Look at this kinky shot. Look at it! Awesome. Xena carries on with her limbs going bonkers, and it isn't long before the same bounty hunters are ready for round 2. Spinning back fists! At a tavern, Darien Tackle returns as Mama Cyrene, whose arms Xena falls into upon her entrance. When Gabrielle catches up, Cyrene is already well aware the Furies are at play. Xena's father was indeed murdered, and the mother confesses that she killed him. When Xena was only 7, her father arrived home from the Temple of Ares in a drunken haze. Her father demanded for his little daughter to be killed, but Cyrene was having none of that crap, using an axe on the father. So Mama killed Papa. Xena says she has an interesting choice now, either kill her mother or spend the rest of her life shuttling between babbling idiocy and vivid clarity. After a rant on how life is such a barroom joke, the warrior princess chooses a third option, ending her own life. No, don't do it! Good thing he showed up. The God of War says the last thing he wants is to see a tastelessly melodramatic end to her life. Ares compliments her rant on life earlier with Cyrene, stating that life isn't worth living, it's to be taken and beaten and wrestled and formed in your image. Great quote. Ares tells Xena to satisfy the Furies by executing her mother to achieve the ultimate freedom. The warrior princess agrees, under one condition, only if it's in front of the Furies. It can be arranged. Meanwhile, at an asylum, Gabrielle discovers that Orestes, who was also driven mad by the Furies, was never cured after avenging the murder of his own father. You better run fast, Gabrielle. Cyrene is set up for the execution, and the God of War calls for the Furies. When the live studio audience settles in, Ares hands the avenging party this cool-looking dagger. Before Xena can kill her mother, Gabrielle arrives, only to be held down by Ares. Sometimes that's the only way to shut her up. The look Ares gives in response to this remark cracks me up. The warrior princess suddenly stops and asks how her mother could have killed her father when he's very much alive. Right, Daddy? Gabrielle says Ares takes the forms of warriors and visits their wives while they're away at battle. Cyrene adds that on the night Xena was conceived, her husband did arrive unexpectedly from war. This is ridiculous. Xena presses on with her case. Ares shapeshifts and has sexy time with Cyrene. Cyrene's husband thinks he's the father, Ares confesses what happened, husband goes on a jealousy rage, and Cyrene kills husband. To prove their relationship, Xena offers to fight Ares, remarking that a half-god should be able to hold her own against him. This is ridiculous. I love how they use that same clip twice. The brawl ensues right above Cyrene. Ares lands face first on her chest, and Xena is having none of this weasel love crap.
Web swing!
The fight is taken high above the ground in an amazing display of aerial acrobatics. The warrior princess lands a series of these incredible flying switch kicks that you would see in a Jet Li movie. Both combatants land vicious shots and do plenty of twirls around these poles. Eventually, the action returns to the ground, and Xena shields herself from her opponent with her own lady before landing a counter move. Xena
Win.
Cyrene is set free, and the fight satisfies the Furies enough to erase Xena's madness. When Ares asks if she really thinks he's her father, she says it doesn't matter, as long as the Furies believe so. If I was your father, I'd be very, very proud. But he still doesn't get what Xena sees in Gabrielle. Something tells me he will soon. The episode ends with a reconciliation between mother and daughter. Behind the scenes, the studio hesitated to have Ares be Xena's father because it would essentially make her like Hercules, a half-god. As a result, viewers were left to decide for themselves who Xena's father really was. Overall, a really good start to the season. The late Kevin Smith is excellent in expanding on Ares' cunning ways, and Lucy Lawless portrays crazy Xena well. Been There, Done That, written by Hilary J. Bader and directed by Andrew Merrifield, was the first episode of October 1997, debuting on the 6th. T-Money, the artist formerly known as Ted Raimi, makes his first appearance in Season 3 as Joxer the Mighty tells our two heroines to rise and shine. Gabrielle will rise, but she refuses to shine. Joxer has found some goose eggs for breakfast, and he is rewarded with a horseshoe to the skull. This lad up top is responsible and apologizes profusely. Argo is in the need for horseshoe maintenance, so off Xena and friends go to fetch supplies. Gabrielle asks Joxer to gather some more goose eggs for the road, even though she doesn't like them. Suddenly, an intense argument erupts between Neron and Tibulus, each from the rival houses of Manos and Light Coast. A man named Casca has been hit by a cart, and the ensuing beef is real. Xena overhears Joxer's attempt to play peacemaker and sprints back to the town square. But it's too late. Collapsing in Gabrielle's arms, Joxer the Mighty has been killed. The excellent burial theme plays as our two heroines hold a funeral pyre for the Mighty One. Our young bard is left in tears as she regrets telling Joxer to gather those eggs. The warrior princess comforts her friend to sleep in another wonderful shot between these two. Rise and shine, everyone! Rise and shine! Joxer's alive! Xena is so pleased with this revelation, she gives the guy a good side headlock. Gabrielle still refuses to shine. Joxer has once again gathered goose eggs, and Xena pushes him back. A horseshoe from above nails him on the foot, and this lad apologizes profusely. The warrior princess realizes what she experienced the day before was no dream. Yesterday never happened for Gabrielle or Joxer, but it did for Xena. So today is actually yesterday for Xena, but for Gabrielle and Joxer, today is today because they can't remember that yesterday was today. The Mighty One ponders, what if they were all in someone else's head, making them up right now? Great line. Xena brings up Joxer's death, and Gabrielle crying over it to the delight of the Mighty One. The two young members from Manos and Light Coast start the same argument. Xena decides to stop the quarrel while her two friends wait in an alley. However, Joxer finds himself in between two other swordsmen, son of a buckeye. Xena flips her way to the alley, but is unable to prevent the Light Coast swordsmen from being killed. Now viewed as enemies, the three friends are forced to watch their backs for the rest of the day. On their way back to the barn, the horseshoe lad from earlier confesses that every horse inside was killed. No, Argo! Oh good, she's alive. Rise and shine! Please, Gabrielle, shine already! Xena tells Joxer to move, but takes it back after he questions why. The same horseshoe nails Joxer on the skull, and Xena quotes the clumsy lad word for word. As Gabrielle has a tough time believing the day is repeating itself, Joxer suggests for the trio to unite both houses by becoming the common enemy between them. Instead, Xena determines that rescuing Casca should stop the cycle. Xena clotheslines Joxer, brilliant, and makes a beeline for Casca. Hey look, it's King Leus! Uh-oh. Xena is able to flip over to the scene and pulls him out of harm's way. But she couldn't save his poor hat. Damn Manos driver! When Xena reunites with the others, they are even more confused at the day repeating itself. The warrior princess swears it isn't a poison dart or Bacchae bites. Is that a hickey? Neron and Tibullus argue again, but this time it's over Neron's attempt to be with Tibullus' cousin, Hermia. Xena tells Gabrielle to escort Joxer to safety before smacking the young swordsman around. Wait, not the alley! No. Tapert! What the fuck? Woohoo! Oh, Joxer, get out of the shot! Back outside, Xena reviews the repeating sequence of events. Maybe it's the rooster. Fatality. I'd yell too, Xena. The warrior princess confirms Joxer's love for Gabrielle before heading back to the town square. Xena stops each of these two fights, but a third breaks out. When Gabrielle points out several things Manos and Lycos have in common, the jet black-haired heroine locates Nightsbane on the ground. Since the day will repeat, Xena allows Joxer to follow through with his enemy of my enemy plan. Oh! Xena has had enough of this crap and... Fatality. You killed him? Yes, she did. Xena ties Gabrielle and Joxer down behind her. Look at the young bard questioning life as Joxer struggles away. Great stuff. After learning how lethal the Nightsbane is from this dude, Xena interrogates the midwife of Manos for anything she can use to stop the time loop. Back in the town, Gabrielle wants to know. No, yes, no, I tried that. Yes, both ways. No, I don't know. No, again. Are there any more questions? Xena uses the information from the midwife to stop each of the fights in the town. When Lord Lycos was at war, his wife and child were saved by Lord Manos' wife. At long last, the two houses agree to verbally settle their differences. The day is saved thanks to the warrior princess! Wait, why is that vial in Hermia's hand? Motherfucker! Xena recounts each event yet again to Gabrielle and Joxer, leaving them both speechless. How great is this shot? Fantastic, Hermia has already taken the Nightbane. The real culprit, Neron, finally explains what's going on. Hermia's father was about to force her to marry someone else, so she took the Bane. In desperation, the young lad requested Cupid for that fateful day of Hermia's death to never come. So in order to stop the time loop, Xena must save Hermia, save Casca, and squash the beef between Manos and Lycos all the way from the south side of town. Looks like today is going to be a very busy day tomorrow. Look at these two. Clothesline from Amphipolis. Damn, Hermia took the poison again. As the whole town brawls, the warrior princess measures several dimensions all over the area. Gabrielle, she's been there, done that, didn't work. I love when Xena uses Gabrielle's staff as a measuring rod in the middle of the brawl before tossing it back to her. Everybody's dead. No goose eggs. Xena unleashes a chakram toss for the ages. Her trusty projectile saves Casca and ricochets over 20 times to prevent Hermia from consuming the Bane. Now, all that's left is to make peace with the two houses. She succeeds, and we can all finally look forward to tomorrow. What? Hey look, Joxer gathered some turnips, signaling the end of the time loop. The episode ends with the warrior princess telling our young bard to seize the day, and Joxer taking a hammer to the skull. An all-time classic with plenty of laughs to go around. This homage to 1993's Groundhog Day is so entertaining from start to finish. Go watch it over and over again. The Dirty Half Dozen, written by Stephen L. Sears and directed by Rick Jacobson, aired a week later. This Athenian soldier's entire army has been wiped out. He's behind you. Another soldier with cool-looking armor arrives to finish off the war. Not only does this armor look nice, it also renders the Athenians' weapons useless. Down he goes, to the delight of the god of war. This is Agathon, leader of 6,000 men rampaging the area after Ares handed him the Medal of Hephaestus. With his newfound weapon and Ares' blessing to lead a new generation of warlords, Agathon is determined to conquer planet Oit. Meanwhile, a murderer named Walsum is about to be decapitated in front of his adoring public. Before the axe is lowered, a rope pulls it back, and this strange hooded fellow lights the bloody place on fire. Oh, there are two hooded fellows. The unknowns send Walsum off on an Argo with his head intact. In the woods, we find out who these fellows are. Xena and Gabrielle! The criminal has a choice. Either assist them in a battle against Ares, or go back to the Axeman. At a prison, another criminal makes himself at home with his new roomies by punching one in the face. Charles Major from The Price returns as Darnell, who is challenged to a fight by this lad named Monlik. Before the two engage in fisticuffs, Xena bursts in to escort them both out. There's also a third one the warrior princess is looking for, a female named Glaphyra. As Gabrielle looks at some sick weapons, Xena enlightens us on each of her troops. Monlik is a master thief who taught Autolycus a thing or two. Darnell was trained into being an unbeatable killer by the Destroyer of Nations. The assassin Walsum was once partners with Thersites from Season 1, and Glaphyra ended up as a slaver, exclusively selling men to southern traders. Their mission? Find out how thousands of Athenians have been slaughtered and solve the problem. Look out! The troops battle Agathon's forces, but nothing seems able to penetrate their armor. Spinning weird kick! Oh, a crossbody by Darnell. Sweet. Look at Gabrielle go! Don't be surprised, Darnell, she's a princess. As Xena surveys the territory, Walsum finds a weak spot in between their armor. Backflip knee to the face! Before long, Agathon's men have had enough of this crap. Great fight scene. After the battle, Xena tells Walsum the key to solving this problem is retrieving the Medal of Hephaestus. At Agathon HQ, the warlord funnily interrupts these workers and is a little too ambitious for Ares' liking. The god of war warns Agathon to be on the lookout for someone. Xena. The warlord knows all about Ares' fascination with the warrior princess and is excited to challenge her with a projectile of his own. I won't intervene. Back in the woods, we need a campfire, but nobody listens to Gabrielle. After assigning the troops to set up camp, Xena shares a private moment with the young bard. Gabrielle questions how she could have ended up if she met the evil Xena that day in Potidaea. Is this really who she is? Or is she what the warrior princess made her? This is too philosophical for Xena's liking, and the two friends return to camp. Murderers guarding murderers! It's foolproof. They did stay up all night. Priceless. Gabrielle invites the troops to breakfast, but Walsum is having trouble understanding what the young bard brings to the table. Darnell can think of one reason to keep the princess around, and almost gets nailed by Glaphyra's blade. Suddenly, Monlik is dead. But here's the real truth. Ever alert, Monlik has trained himself to sleep with his eyes open. See? Xena splits the troops up into war parties. Darnell and Glaphyra are in charge of purchasing supplies, while Monlik and Walsum infiltrate Agathon's castle for a complete map of the interior. The warrior princess will create a diversion with the help of King Gregor's army to make it look like Agathon's men are being attacked. Darnell and Glaphyra fiercely debate over men and women. When he points out he was born of a man and delivered by a woman, Glaphyra has had enough of this crap. Her first punch is blocked, but the second lands. Time for an apple. The troops return to camp, but Monlik goes off the deep end. He sees no profit in stopping Ares. The warrior princess reminds him he can have a fresh start as a free man, but Malik is not interested. The thief misfires his weapon, and it stays stuck to this tree. The warrior princess breaks free from his bear hug and backflips out of harm's way to deliver a sidekick. Malik flies away and is stabbed by his own weapon. Kind of like Han in 1973's Enter the Dragon. Brilliant. At another campfire, Gabrielle notices the 3 remaining troops speaking to each other past the trees. Without the thief's information on the castle, Walsum devises a new plan, but Xena interrupts their talk and sends him to Bede. The god of war, Ares, says he gave the Medal of Hephaestus to Agathon because he's a lot like the evil Xena was. Agathon also knows about Xena's diversion and has kept his army immobilized. Affirming he will not interfere, the god of war tells the warrior princess to give it up before she gets killed. The next day, Xena and her troops defy Ares as Gabrielle and Darnell toss flaming projectiles everywhere. While Walsum takes care of reinforcements, Glaphyra tosses her blades at the wall, allowing Xena to climb up. Once she's near the window, Darnell launches his javelin nearby for further assistance. Walsum breaks the lock off with an arrow, and Darnell tosses a stone to barge it open. The warrior princess is in. One of the guards is decked by the chakram, but Xena is soon trapped. Shoot, it's Agathon. Oh man, Smeckledorfed! Walsum has executed his plan, and only Darnell was willing to cooperate. Glaphyra resumes her hatred for men, taking out her frustrations on Gabrielle for marrying one. With the ladies trapped behind bars made of the Medal of Hephaestus, Xena says Glaphyra should look inside herself for the answers to her problems, instead of blaming the lads. Back at Agathon HQ, Darnell notices only Hephaestus' medal can cut through Hephaestus' metal and makes his way back to the cage. Darnell taunts Glaphyra some more, and Xena goes straight at him. However, he places the guard between them, and she takes him out. Nice twist. Xena uses the Hephaestus metal chain to cut through the bars, and Darnell kisses Glaphyra. Let's go to the armory. Gabrielle and Darnell recover their respective weapons, and Xena uses her fire-breathing move. Fantastic. Gabrielle introduces a new move herself, a sweet flying kick while using her staff as support. With the chakram back in hand, Xena wields the power of Hephaestus against Agathon's boys. Incredible action. With all the forces neutralized, Walsum runs off like a scalded dog. All that's left is the blast shield. Xena commands her troops to clog the shield with all the super weapons before tossing her chakram at the chain above to seal it off. But then, Agathon tosses his projectile at Darnell as the castle grows unstable. The god of war reminds us that he won't intervene. Agathon says he doesn't need Ares to beat Xena, and that's where he messed up. In a tribute to the duels from the Old West, both warriors ready their weapons. Agathon tosses his projectile first, but the chakram splits it in 2. Ooh, that's gotta be uncomfortable. After the castle goes boom, everyone wishes each other farewell as Darnell and Glaphyra head east. The episode ends with Xena affirming to Gabrielle exactly who she is. Bard, Amazon Princess, BFF. According to Sears, this installment was a test to see who could accompany Gabrielle in future Xenolite episodes to lighten Lawless's workload. But ultimately, her chemistry with O'Connor led to them remaining together on screen as much as possible. A fun episode with some really good fight scenes in between. Ready? Alright. The Deliverer, also written by Sears, aired the following week. Oh, and it was directed by Ole! The god of war is practicing his sword skills in a temple. Very cool. Suddenly, another goddess appears. None other than Discord, played by Megan Desmond. I like Megan Desmond. Making her Xena debut, the goddess expresses her concern over a particular cult on planet Oit. Ares says he has sent out an exceptional mortal to take care of the problem, but Discord is filled with the impatience of youth. You have to have a little faith in me. That was it for Discord? What the f? Off in the distance, 2 guards are escorting some prisoners out of the area for rebelling against Julius Caesar. The mere sound of his name is all Xena needed. Now free, Craftstar, first priest of the Temple of the One God, reveals he's recruiting mercenaries willing to fight Caesar alongside Boadicea, the revered heroine from Britannia. The warrior princess joins the battle against him without a second thought. While Xena is off inspecting the harbor, the priest fears Caesar may destroy his temple and refuses to share the name of this one god with Gabrielle. I wonder why. Suddenly, she senses him. Ares. This moment when he pulls himself out of the Xena sword unscathed is really cool. The god of war reveals he told Caesar to destroy this temple, but the Roman leader has not. Knowing the real reason why the warrior princess has joined Boadicea, he asks her to humble Caesar a bit by destroying the temple herself. We're on a boat, and loads of people are vomiting. As Gabrielle shows Craftstar how to neutralize seasickness, the priest says the one god will have this great effect when he brings his kingdom to planet Oit. Xena interrupts, and Gabrielle notices something's up. The warrior princess shares her history with Boadicea. Years ago in Gaul, their alliance was axed when Xena took control of Boadicea's forces and ordered for the heroine of Britannia to be killed. But Boadicea managed to escape. Suddenly, one of Caesar's forces orders Xena to sail back to Gaul. To the dismay of her mercenaries, she complies. Remember how Xena said the ship was returning to Gaul? She lied. Boadicea, played by Michael Hurst's wife Jennifer Ward Leland, arrives with a vengeance. And ho, the Romans are screwed, man. The war on the shore. As the excellent combat rages on, we hear the classic warrior princess theme from the Xena trilogy on the legendary journeys. That tune never gets old. Before long, the Romans retreat and the rebels celebrate. But it turns out the Romans haven't gone far, as they capture our young bard and the priest. At Boadicea HQ, there is no love lost between the heroine of Britannia and the warrior princess. Xena then discovers that Gabrielle and Craftstar never arrived to camp, and that's all she needed. The only thing keeping her from killing Boadicea is the conviction that Caesar will keep Gabrielle alive once he knows she's Xena's friend. Over at Caesar HQ, Gabrielle tells Craftstar it's only a matter of time before Xena gets them out of this. Divide a woman's emotion from her sensibilities, and you have her. The young bard accidentally reveals her friendship with Xena, and yep, Caesar keeps Gabrielle alive. The plan to retrieve the young bard is set. Give Caesar exactly what he wants, a battle that will etch his name in history. Back in Roman captivity, Craftstar shares his experience meeting his one god. After being left for dead by a warlord in his farm, the priest was rescued by travelers from the east who all believed in the one god. Craftstar met the same warlord later on and was about to kill him before a light filled him with serenity. Gabrielle thinks that sounds wonderful. The next morning, how adorable does she look when she sleeps? Julius figures out Xena's intention to trap him, so he prepares his army for battle and calls for not one, but 2 crucifixions. And broken legs, for old time's sake. As Gabrielle braces for impact, Xena does her best Evil Deed impression, and Boadicea's forces charge in. Caesar is not amused. This Roman soldier gets Goldberg speared all the way to Tartarus, and this lad is neutralized. Angered, Julius grabs a javelin and hurls it towards Xena, but her chakram splits it in 2. There's a souvenir for your troubles. Xena and Boadicea
Win.
Caesar demands for every legion to prepare for battle. The warrior princess lays out the plan to take each of the hills, starting with the one near that temple under Roman control. The next day, this guy gets nailed in the heart, forcing the Romans to use their tortoise technique. Xena breaks up the shield via killer backflip before Boadicea's forces do their thing. As the 2 leaders pursue the Romans over the hill, the priest and followers of the one god have their temple back. Boadicea informs Xena that Caesar's legions are forming over the North Plain. The final battle. But first, the God of War needs a word. Ares warns Xena to destroy that temple because inside it lies an evil god who has no room on the planets with the rest of the Olympians. But she ignores him. Inside the temple, the followers have donned new outfits for the One God ceremony. This lady, Meridian, leads the festivities at the request of the tribunal. She declares the time for the One God to complete the circle is now. Tremble at his arrival. Wait, what? The path of his arrival must be sanctified in blood. Pure, innocent blood. The followers tie a befuddled craft star down at the altar. Meridian takes hold of a blade and praises Dahak, the Dark One. Gabrielle has had enough of this crap and breaks free. She clocks Meridian and begins freeing Craftstar with the blade. But then, Dahak Lady slashes at her young bard with a sword and... "Thank you, Gabrielle," says Craftstar. In a brutal swerve, the priest congratulates the young bard for giving Dahak exactly what he wanted, a sacrifice of purity and innocence. The new kingdom of Dahak is upon them, and Gabrielle shall bring it to the world. How are Xena and Boadicea supposed to defeat that? The warrior princess says Caesar still has to divide his forces and elects to go straight at him. Suddenly, the sky grows dark. Xena rushes into the temple to find the dead Meridian and the young bard in despair. Gabrielle tearfully admits she committed the murder to Xena's sheer terror. Craftstar says that Gabrielle has fulfilled her destiny of being connected to Dahak. Soon, all the other gods will be destroyed, and the cleansing war of fire will bring an end to the world. He also points out that Dahak appreciates Xena's hatred for Caesar, since it brought the two heroines here in the first place. The warrior princess has had enough of this crap, but is taken down by Craftstar's otherworldly powers. The altar is set ablaze and grabs hold of the young bard. The altar then explodes, revealing a huge flame from the inside. Gabrielle is helplessly raised above the flame, and Craftstar morphs into the Deliverer. A vicious brawl ensues as the young bard remains suspended high above the combatants. Great special effects here. Xena is finally able to slice the Deliverer up a bit, giving her a new lease on life. He can get hurt. The warrior princess taunts him, labeling Dahak as a third-rate god. With a killer monkey flip, Xena launches him into the flame. The warrior princess jumps straight at the young bard and barely catches her. They are then forced to evacuate as the temple collapses behind them. Gabrielle hauntingly caps things off. Everything's changed. Everything. The story continues in Gabrielle's Hope, written by Stewart and directed by both Charles Siebert and Andrew Merrifield. This episode from October 27th marked the first and only time in the series when two directors were credited for one episode. Our Bard of Potidaea is peacefully smelling the flowers in this large field. She is soon joined by a special guest, Meridian. Blades aren't supposed to float like that, are they? Oh no. Don't do it, Gabrielle. No! The young bard awakens from the nightmare in despair. Gabrielle deeply laments going against everything she stands for, feeling she should be deeply punished. Xena says her conscience is already punishing her, but they'll both get through this, since there's much good yet to be done. As the two heroines make their way to a ship back to Greece, high-pitched screeches fill the air. It's the Banshees, who go after the warrior princess like ravaged dogs. No matter which weapon she tries, Xena is unable to land a hit. When Gabrielle takes a swing at one of those she-demons, another says they honor her. The young bard realizes they won't attack her, commanding Xena to get behind her. The two heroines run away, but the banshees say they mean no harm to Gabrielle, since she's the chosen one. Near the harbor, the young bard's soul is still hurting. She questions whether or not there's something evil inside of her the banshees want a piece of. The warrior princess shoots this nonsense down and leads her friend into a pub. I wonder who ticked him off. Xena learns that only a boat owned by a Phoenician trader named Hasdrubal is headed towards Greece, so off she goes to find him. This leaves Gabrielle on her own to order some food. And more food. And even more food! How hungry are you? Gabrielle is chomping everything like it was her favorite squid during Lost Mariner. That little food stain on her face cracks me up. Wait, she wants even more food? That bill is gonna be bigger than a Titan! Suddenly, an angry mob has formed outside the pub, led by this man, Cadbury, played by Bert Keeler, a cast member on the legendary journeys during the Golden Hind trilogy. Gabrielle's meal is interrupted by Burn the Witch! As Xena's negotiation with Hasdrubal is rudely interrupted, Cadbury launches a lit torch inside the pub. Soon, more torches are tossed inside. As the building collapses, Gabrielle uses a long stick as a springboard to jump through the window and into the water. The mob quickly chases her. Xena finally takes out these rude bozos and dashes after the young bard. Gabrielle has trouble staying upright and eventually falls to the ground. But never fear, Xena is here! Cadbury says the warriors with the pierced hearts have warned them that Gabrielle will be responsible for bringing goodness to an end. With these warriors located in the forest of the Banshees, it looks like Xena is getting her rematch. Back in the forest, the she-demons place an alternate attire on Gabrielle as they continue worshipping her. Why? Inside the young bard is a child that will bring a new order to the world. The child of darkness. Gabrielle is pregnant! The banshees command the young bard to stay in the forest until the baby is born. Xena wants to slap them silly instead, but she still can't land a hit. Run! The two heroines escape to the castle of the warriors with the pierced hearts. The warrior princess suspects her friend is already at month 4. Gabrielle has a tough time believing this crap until it moves. Babies aren't supposed to grow that fast, are they? The young bard fears that this is her real punishment for killing Meridian. Sleep. Xena infiltrates the castle and overhears a heated discussion between the warriors. One of which is the same actor who played Matthias in Season 2's Remember Nothing, Robert Hart. This one says what's inside her must die, and that's all Xena needed. Pressure points will teach him. He reveals that Gabrielle was impregnated while she was suspended high above the altar. And now, inside of her is none other than evil incarnate. The skies darken, the animals in the barn are perturbed, and Gabrielle must push. In one of the most striking moments of the show, the young bard shrieks her way through a painful childbirth. As Xena uses pressure points to numb Gabrielle's abdomen, the warriors hack away at the door. Push, you! Push! The storm clouds subside, and our young bard has done it. It's a girl. And great, they're in. Xena keeps the warriors at a distance as they call for the baby's head. However, 2 of them, Iokid and Gowin, are unsure if it's really evil. The remaining 3 are having none of this crap and slash away. The warrior princess escorts the new mother and her baby to safety before helping to lock the intolerant warriors out. Gabrielle says she has found hope again through her new daughter, naming her exactly that. Hope. A short time later, the child's unusual growth rate continues. The rebelling warriors rejoice with Hope, convinced she is born innocent. Apparently, only a great warrior born into their kingdom will be able to pull this out. Well, so much for that. Gabrielle is thrilled to be a mama, ready to help her half-mortal daughter fight her dark side. The warrior princess is unsure that the daughter of Dayhak could be so innocent. In a quick retort, the young bard warns her friend to back off. As Gabrielle sleeps away, Xena keeps a close eye on Hope. Where is he, Yokid, going? Uh-oh. The warrior princess locates the secret passage and leaves Gowen in charge of Mama and daughter. Hey, there's Hope! To calm the child down, Gowen lets her play with his pierced heart chain. Meanwhile, this bastard informs one of the banshees that the child is inside. Xena unleashes a superb flying sidekick to crush Yokid and send the banshee flying off into the night. We have a traitor, but that's not even the biggest problem. Gowen is dead. And look at who's awake. Hope must die. Gabrielle wakes up and has trouble believing her daughter could be such a dark, wicked thing. Suddenly, the banshees burst through the door and the new mama commands her worshippers to stop Xena. Finally, the warrior princess is able to take the fight to the she-demons. Jumping sidekick! Xena takes care of the last banshee outside, but Gabrielle rides away with Hope on an Argo. The next day, the jet black-haired heroine is told that Gabrielle traded the Argo for a rowboat, sailing all the way down the river. On the other side, Mama shares another tender moment with her daughter, saying she'll die before allowing Xena to hurt her. As Gabrielle runs up this hill, Xena exclaims that Hope is a monster! You were in the Temple of Dayhak, and by protecting Hope, the vicious cycle of pain and violence will only thrive! Suddenly, Gabrielle calls out Xena's name. At the top of the hill, our heartbroken young bard reveals she tossed her daughter off this cliff after Hope attempted to choke her. Oh, you threw it off the cliff, huh? Get away from the rock. Oh, a big freaking hairy rat. Xena says she had to be absolutely sure. However, unbeknownst to the warrior princess, Hope is still alive in a basket. Gabrielle has lied about her daughter, praying for her to be good as the episode concludes. 2 hard-hitting installments in a row. Yes, it hurts seeing Gabrielle kill someone during my initial viewing of The Deliverer, but in order for her to end up where she did at the end of the series, her first kill was inevitable. Credit to O'Connor for pulling off this moment so well. As for the follow-up episode, what a gut-wrench it is to see a character like this in that much discomfort. The seeds for the rift were planted effectively here, as you can already see our 2 heroines not being honest with one another. The Debt, written by Tapert and Stewart, was the first episode of November 1997, debuting on the 3rd. The director was once again Ole! Our young bard thanks the warrior princess for sticking by her side and hopes she'll never disappoint her. Impossible, replies Xena. Uh-oh. This wounded lad has been sent by the weak one, soft as water, but hard as the raging flood. Out of nowhere, flying ninjas ambush the jet black-haired heroine. Much of the kung fu fighting is in slow motion, leading to some excellent shots of Xena kicking ninja ass. One of the coolest shots is this giant backflip kick into a giant stomp. Xena!
Win.
With this lad's injuries beyond repair, he delivers his last message. The green dragon has become too large and must be made small. Xena says she's going on a long journey to the kingdom of Qin without Gabrielle. No buts! She must go alone to kill this green dragon. As they shop for some supplies, Gabrielle cannot believe her friend is being so secretive. After some nudging, Xena finally explains why she must go alone. Following the events from the flashback in Season 2's Destiny, newly evil Xena headed east for vengeance against the entire human race. In a battlefield, warriors led by this man and this unknown person chase Asian soldiers on Argos in the outskirts of Qin. These are such phenomenal shots. The Asians are overwhelmed, dropping like flies left and right. When two of the soldiers surrender, Unknown takes a sword and stabs one of them. No, we do not slaughter them. He was so good as craft star, the crew brought him back. Martin Chokash returns as Boreas, and Unknown is revealed to be Xena. Yes, Solin's parents in the flesh. The Destroyer says the only way to deal with these scum is through terror. And if we kill them all, who's left to be terrified? Good point. Boreas lets the final soldier run off to warn Ming, and Xena wants all of the dead carcasses. Why? For decoration. She really wasn't kidding about vengeance against humans, was she? Even the studio voiced their concerns with this, but it stayed in the episode. Xena is having none of this Boreas diplomacy crap and decides to take out Ming Su and Lao Su. In a hut, Xena impatiently drums away as we witness the arrival of Ming Su and his son, Ming Tian. The Destroyer wastes no time in intimidating the little boy. The negotiation begins with Boreas and Xena in charge of raiding Lao in exchange for half of the loot. The Destroyer scoffs at Ming Su's statement of fact, and he storms out. As Boreas chases him outside, evil Xena continues intimidating Ming Tian by spitting water at him. How much more Mina can she get? Boreas is disgusted with Xena for not allowing Ming Su to save face. When asked what would happen if Ming and Lao formed an alliance against them, Gabrielle knows exactly how Xena responded. Kill them all. Back in the past, Xena and Boreas make sweet love on top of an Argo, but Lao soon approaches. The Hungarian tosses the Destroyer off the Argo, and we see her legs still aren't 100%. As Boreas welcomes the head of the House of Lao, out comes his wife, the beautiful Lao Ma, played by Jacqueline Kim. Xena seems as amazed as everyone else with Lao Ma's presence. Ma says the great Lao has fallen ill, so his insignificant wife has arrived in his place. Xena and Ma make eye contact, and Lao's wife acknowledges the Destroyer's reputation for being a dangerous woman. Well, they're right. Later that night, Boreas and Ma are side by side at the table, with Xena 420 keeping a close eye on them. It soon becomes too much for the Destroyer, who tosses a blade near Lao Ma's hand. The Hungarian and the Ma have reached an agreement, one that will make Lao most happy. Back to the future, Xena says she wasn't jealous there. All she wanted was to keep Boreas as wild as she was. Right. The flashback resumes and Xena is taking her chances against Lao Ma. These blades are swiftly hurled back at the Destroyer, who has trouble staying upright on her bad wheels. Ma's incredible martial arts skills overwhelm Xena, who flies out after being hit with an energy blast. Lao's wife calls off the alliance, but whispers something to the Destroyer. Boreas has had enough of this crap, threatening to kill Xena if she's not out of the camp by sunrise. In the future, the warrior princess reveals Ma told her to empty herself of desire to understand the great mystery of things. But instead, she kidnapped little Ming Tian. Xena wins again. The Destroyer doubles her demands for little Tian. 50 of Ming's best horses, 50 bags of gold, and Boreas gets 5% for arranging the exchange. How's that for a statement of fact? Sure enough, Ming Su follows through on his end of the deal. Boreas is happy. To Smeckledorf Xena. Back to the future, the warrior princess is going to Chin alone, and that's final. Gabrielle is shocked that Xena is willing to discard these last few years to murder the Green Dragon. The warrior princess leaves the young bard behind with Argo and sets sail. During the trip, the flashback continues with Xena in captivity. Hardly stops her from intimidating Ming Tian some more. Ming Su informs Lao Ma that in honor of Xena uniting both kingdoms, they shall hunt her. After Tian refuses a gift from Ma, the Destroyer and wife make eye contact one last time. Su asks one of his men to reveal this gift. Ming Tian is the Green Dragon. The hunt begins as Xena has trouble running from these ravaged animals. How will she ever get out of this? Come with me if you wish your freedom. Later on, Lao Ma's private time is interrupted by Ming Su, who urges his men to find Xena. Turns out she's being hidden in this tub, but running out of air fast.
Holy Aphrodite!
Maybe it's a good thing that Gabrielle wasn't around to hear about this part. Su reveals he was the one who arranged her marriage with Lao and smirks at how soft and hard Ma is. Like water, nothing is as soft as water, yet who can withstand the raging flood? The destroyer rises from the tub, and Lao Ma is so proud of her new student. These shots are impeccable. And how cool does Lawless look in that? Lao Ma places this brooch in her hair before we shift back to the future. The warrior princess has reached Qin and prepares herself with war paint. Time to kill a dragon. As clips from previous episodes appear, Xena crawls her way past these spinning bird cages to Ming Tian's room. With blade in hand, she sees her target. Oh no! Gabrielle couldn't let Xena do this. The Green Dragon, now the Emperor of Qin, confiscates the blade and locks her up. Why, young bard? Why this way? The Debt 2. Same writers, same director as Part 1, airing on November 10th. Gabrielle wants to see Xena, but that would be impossible. Ming Tian says a prisoner charged with a capital offense cannot receive visitors. Xena has been placed in a pillory and is pushed into this pit. Below is some dirty water with dirty prisoners. This legitimate disciplinary measure from ancient times is recreated well here. Back in Tian HQ, a mesmerizing set built by the crew, Gabrielle still wants to speak with Xena. And yes, Rock looks awesome in that too. Ming overrules her request, but not in a resentful way. He's actually grateful for the way she treated him in his youth because it taught him how to rule. Flashbacks resume as we witness Xena continuing to be Mina to little Tien. Chuang, her right-hand man, alerts the destroyer that the Hungarian is approaching fast. She then buries the boy in a hole behind a wall of rocks as adult Tien is heard admiring her tenacious conduct. He says his father was too soft, recalling how he broke down in tears the night he paid Xena's ransom. But enough about the past, let's celebrate Gabrielle's heroic deed. Back in the prison, the other inmates begin clothing Xena in tribute to her attempt of killing Tien. This lad says he's from the kingdom of Lao, as another flashback reveals Lao Ma's fate. Per the Emperor's orders, she was crucified on this huge symbol with that same prisoner in attendance. The masked man grabs his blade of choice, and you know the rest. The inmate from Lao questions whether Ma really had powers, since she refused to escape. But the warrior princess says her powers were real, flashing us back to a lesson in progress. Xena crushes this bottle with an axe kick. Would you kill a mosquito with an axe? The master follows with a swift toss of the brooch, impressing the destroyer. It can kill someone if thrown at the right body part, but Ma doesn't like to kill. Xena sets up another bottle, and this time, Lao Ma combusts it with her mind. Xena also tries to, but Ma laughs at this futile attempt. She tells Xena to stop willing, stop desiring, and stop hating. The only way to do this is to serve and live for others, especially those Xena hates, like Ming Su. The destroyer would rather die, but the master says she's been deed for a long time. Now is her chance to live. What a great scene. The next day, Ming Su and Ming Tian arrive to the kingdom of Lao, and Tian wants no part of Lao Ma. During their dinner, Xena fumbles some dishes, and Tian's father calls her an idiot. Despite his verbal assault, she spares him. After the meal, Lao Ma is pleased with Xena silencing her will for a few hours. To conquer others is to have power. To conquer yourself is to know the way. We then see Lao Su bedridden. His wife has been keeping him in a coma to prevent his imbecile cousin from ruling the kingdom. Lao Ma now rules in his name to ensure he's fondly remembered. She even gives him all the credit for the wisdom she writes down on a daily basis. This is none other than the Tao Te Ching. When Xena mentions how Tien's cold shoulder seems to bother Lao Ma, we find out why. The little boy is her son. Gabrielle slaps Xena back to the future. The young bard demands her friend to promise she'll never try to kill the dragon again, but it's no use. Back in the past, Xena's legs are completely healed by Lao Ma. Xena backflips in excitement, and Ma uses her powers for a warm embrace between them. This great shot is rudely interrupted by Ming Tian handing down Xena's sentence: death. The good news is the young bard can finally speak to her. Gabrielle treads through the dirty water and expresses how much she hates herself for creating this mess.
Scratch my nose, will you?
Gabrielle's reaction here speaks for itself. Phenomenal acting by O'Connor. Xena doesn't hate her friend because she knew she was only doing what she thought was right. Killing Ming Tian is Lao Ma's final request, and the warrior princess must fulfill it. Another flashback shows more amazing shots of Xena and Ma celebrating life. This production value is top notch. Oh no. The destroyer strikes the Hungarian with a fury and takes him down. That was her chance, Xena laments, to finally let go, but instead she continued the onslaught. Lao Ma has had enough of this crap and launches Xena several feet away. She declares that these two will help bring peace to Qin, with Boreas being included in a three-way alliance and Xena fighting for Lao Ma as her warrior princess. The choice is theirs. The destroyer embraces the Hungarian once more, but there's still another issue. Ming Su, Boreas, and Lao Ma all have a claim to Xena. To settle the matter, the destroyer proposes a game of chance. Winner gets Xena and a body part from each of the losers. One throw later, Xena!
Win.
Ming Su makes a run for it, but Xena ends his life, and Boreas gladly gives her his heart. All that's left is Ming Tian, but Lao Ma's maternal instincts are too much to overcome. It may have taken years for Xena to realize what Lao Ma had envisioned, but now she knows. That's the debt. Time's up. The green dragon looks on as the warrior princess is placed on the same symbol Lao Ma died on. As the executioner reaches for the familiar blade, Lao Ma's powerful wisdom flashes on screen. Suddenly, the weapons levitate and take out the executioner. In another fantastic battle, the warrior princess channels in the power of Lao Ma and dismantles Tien's forces. Using energy blasts, she clears the baddies out and creates a hole out of the palace for the innocents to escape. All that's left is Ming Tian. Before a final word with the Emperor, Xena assures Gabrielle that her beef with Tien is over. That is quickly put to the test when he describes how much he enjoyed killing his own mother. Tien tosses Xena her old brooch and Lao Ma's Book of Wisdom. Gabrielle returns to check on her friend, who says her last words to the now powerless Tien. The warrior princess didn't have to resort to murder, music to the young bard's ears. With Lao Ma's book secured, Gabrielle loves Xena, and Xena loves Gabrielle. However, as the episode ends, we find out that Xena has lied. What a great two-part saga. This story was originally intended to be a full-length feature, but a decline from the studio led to this. Simply put, two of the finest installments of Xena you'll ever see. The King of Assassins, written by the returning duo of Adam Armus and Nora K. Foster, aired a week later. Making his directorial debut on Xena in this episode was none other than Bruce Campbell. This warlord is the latest entry in a heavily populated jail, and Joxer is also there. The Mighty One has been arrested for stealing this guard's chicken, so Xena pays for his freedom before heading to the town of Parsipidus. Meanwhile, at a castle, a masked man is descending toward a precious sword. Everything is going smoothly until a drip of sweat activates the security measures. The masked man backflips to safety next to another masked man, who kills this warlord with a crossbow. One of these men is Autolycus, who doesn't recall murder being part of the deal. The king's partner in crime says Grand Theft's sword was only one part of his plan, and he slowly unmasks himself.
What?
In the town square, the Dangerous One is sporting a new outfit. Autolycus bumps into Joxer, and the king quickly hands over his sword. But before Joxer lets Autolycus go, he wants to know how dangerous he is. Gabrielle arrives, and she is not amused. She waited 3 hours for Joxer with horny half-wits who grabbed her more than the Golden Fleece. The young bard tells the king that this killer was imprisoned for committing Grand Theft Chicken. When the word assassin comes up, Joxer says it must have been his identical twin brother Jet. 2 Joxers! What's next, a bunch of Gabrielles? Side faceplant. The Mighty One explains that he comes from a family of warlords, and he was the only one who did not live up to expectations. Gabrielle ponders who the assassin's target could be. It has to be someone of high value, since Joxer's brother doesn't work cheaply. Of course Autolycus is helping these two stop Jet, there's a big reward in it for him. Outside this castle, the security forces are on high alert. As Gabrielle lays out the plan, Campbell and T-Money mirror each other's exact gestures to great comedic effect. The king then tricks the Mighty One into grabbing this lady's bum as a distraction to get past the guards. Gabrielle pretends to be Joxer's unamused wife, dragging him away in a hold reminiscent of the Stone Cold Stunner. Now inside the room, Autolycus tosses a rope down to these two. He is forced to hide when the person of high value is revealed. It's Cleopatra, played by Gina Torres. The King of Thieves has the best seat in the house as her servants help her undress. He likes. Nobody is interrupting his peep show, including you two down here. Plan B, let the guards capture them. Autolycus has died and gone to Olympus. This close-up is so priceless. But the peep show is rudely interrupted by a knock at the door. Pontius, Cleopatra's chief of security, stops by as she expresses her desire to invade Egypt and seize the throne from her brother, Ptolemy. Autolycus stashes the sword from the heist into the exact spot Jet wanted, but then he sneezes. Cleopatra quickly grabs hold of him at blade point. Thinking fast, the king of security says his boss, a great warrior, would be interested in helping Cleopatra invade her homeland. This great warrior is the best one available, Xena. Meanwhile, in the dungeon, Joxer tells Pontius there's going to be an assassination attempt on the queen. The chief shuts down the premises and allows these two to stay in the castle as guests. However, off to the side, we learn that Pontius was the one who organized the assassination attempt with Jet for top dinar. Problem is, he thinks the lad in the cell with Gabrielle is really the assassin. Joxer then tricks the young bard back into the cell for her own protection. Warrior Princess Tramp all over again. Back in the castle, Otto is rehearsing his special evening with Cleo at a mirror. He is interrupted by Joxer at the door. Oh, it's Jet. The deranged looks T-Money gives him here are great. Autolycus informs Jet that the sword is in Cleopatra's quarters. Pleased with Autolycus' strategy, Jet says he'll strike her the moment the guards are dismissed. What would Xena do, Gabrielle? Yes, use a flying saucer to escape, but she gets knocked out. Otto is happy to discover Cleo waiting in her bathtub. The king says he drives a hard bargain, and the queen assures him her offer will be quite generous. The innuendos between these two are hysterical. Otto cleverly prevents the guards from leaving by saying any business transaction requires witnesses. Back in the dungeon, the young bard fails at using pressure points twice before knocking this guard out with a makeshift staff. She then finds Joxer and tells him she'll let him know when she locates Jet. Back in the castle, it's Joxer's turn to rehearse at a mirror. Well, Mighty One, it's showtime. Jet gives Joxer what he's had coming for so long, a big hug and a wet willy. They also have another brother named Jace, but that's another story. Jet continues teasing his little brother by altering the lyrics to the Joxer the Mighty theme song. Great stuff. The assassin then tells the Mighty One to not get in his way. Back in Cleo's quarters, her relationship with Otto is now consummated. Way to go, King. This servant places a hot towel on Autolycus' face. Oh, it's the bard. Doesn't jet black hair look good on her? With no part 2 to Jet's plan, the young bard must get to Pontius without raising suspicion. What the hell? Joxer begs for a chance to convince his brother to do good, but Autolycus is having none of this crap. Gabrielle locates Pontius and reveals who the assassin is. Someone who looks like Joxer. Still convinced this is really Jet, Pontius tosses Autolycus and Gabrielle in the dungeon and allows the assassin to do his job. Oh brother. Will any of Gabrielle's Xena plans ever actually work? Hey, she's back! The new plan. Autolycus gets Jet, Gabrielle gets Joxer, and Xena goes to Cleopatra. Fortunately, Autolycus returns to Cleo's quarters before Jet does. Wait, it's Joxer. Wrong, Jet. With the sword in hand, the assassin says he's going to kill Autolycus before he kills Cleopatra. But that's not really Cleopatra. Oh shoot, it's really her. The king is sent to another dimension, and the queen is in trouble. But never fear, Joxer is here. Willing to fight his brother, the Mighty One eats a giant haymaker. Be nice. As the warrior princess battles the assassin, misfires from Jet with foreign objects continuously find their mark on Joxer. Great gag. After Xena takes Jet down, Pontius and his minions enter the fray. Autolycus rejoins the battle as the jet black-haired Gabrielle battles goons near Cleo's bathtub. Xena makes quick work of Pontius, but he is prepared for one last move, killing Joxer. Suddenly, a sword pierces him from behind. Nobody hurts my brother, except me. Maybe he's not such a bad guy. Xena says Jet cannot be executed in the town of Meramis and shall be imprisoned for life instead. The queen promises a big reception for the warrior princess back home in Egypt should she ever decide to visit. Otto and Cleo share one last kiss before Jet returns for a final word. The assassin demands his little brother to never allow anyone to tell him who he should be in life, including family. A nice breather in between all of the riff stuff thus far. T-Money pulls off the Jet character well, with a nice payoff in the end. Campbell is entertaining as always, and Gina Torres is excellent as Cleopatra. We have made it to 1998. First episode of the new year on January 12th was Warrior, Priestess, Tramp, written by the duo of Armus and Foster and directed by Robert Ginty. There's a wrestling match going on in the middle of this town. Warlord Dexon is exactly the man Xena is looking for. But instead of putting her sword to good use, she drops it on the ground. What do you mean you come in peace? Xena negotiates with Dexon and his men to denounce their warrior ways. She even discards her breastplate. Dexon has only one thing to say: grab her. The town is in disbelief as Gabrielle asks Xena what in Tartarus has gotten into her head. The warrior princess is not afraid to die if it is indeed what Hestia wants. Since when does Xena worship the virgin goddess? Uh-oh, they're lighting her up. Hey, a barrel with water. Okay, seeing her attempt to use her own way to launch it is too adorable. Gabrielle tricks this lad from Season 1's The Black Wolf to assist her via giant frog splash. The flames are put out, angering Dexon. Gabrielle helps Xena run away to safety and sternly asks for an explanation. But this can't be the warrior princess. It must be Callisto. No? Diana. No? Meg. Oh, I wanted it to be Meg. It's Leah, head priestess of the Temple of Hestia. 4 Xenas? These two have to be the parents. Gabrielle finally reunites with the real Xena and forces her to play a game of Guess Who I Ran Into. That money bra got shorter, didn't it? Enter the Hestian Virgin, who praises her goddess for Xena's presence. Look at that face. Salmonius level stuff here. At a campfire, Leah says she randomly found the replica outfit in her chamber and only used it to confront a warrior. She is appalled to discover the two heroines aren't virgins and asks Hestia why she must deal with these wanton strumpets. Xena theorizes that someone is using this blind devotion to the goddess at the expense of her and the virgin. It is decided to get Leah home and find out more. At the temple, the two heroines arrive in disguise as the ceremony is set to begin. Virgins only. Princess Leah is handed the Hestian stones by the priest known as Balius, and she performs the dice roll. Yes, it's Meg. Apparently, she owns a tavern not far from the temple. Xena tells Gabrielle to go there with Leah disguised as Meg. In the meantime, the warrior princess shall chat with an old friend. Meg is not pleased with her drinking time being interrupted and demands for the priestess to get out of here. One blocked fist later, the owner of the tavern understands who she's dealing with. Okay, Gabrielle, fix up that outfit. Yes, we have a replica Meg. Back at the temple, the real Meg says Balius asked her to fill in for the missing Leah. Xena decides to take Meg's place as the fake Leah while Meg stays put. Meanwhile, Gabrielle and Leah arrive to the tavern in time for these ladies' prayers to be answered. It's the Mighty One! A brilliant rendition of the Joxer the Mighty theme is performed by him and the ladies. These altered lyrics are all great, but the one that always gets me is the Captain of Debauchery part. Leah is not amused, she's a Hestian virgin! Joxer makes a fool of himself in front of Gabrielle before she escorts Leah out for a talk. Congrats, Mighty One, you defiled a Hestian priestess. Back at the temple, Meg is bored of hiding and sneaks out. Meanwhile, Xena, now posing as Meg posing as Leah, meets Balius, who is actually not a Hestian priest. Thorocles is not convinced that was Meg since he witnessed another lookalike at the temple altar. Jug, 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 jug. Hey look, doubloons! Balius finds the real Meg, who asks for a friend if there is someone out there trying to kill Leah. When Bali asks if that friend is Xena,
Meg can't say.
But she eventually spills the beans on the entire situation. Balius tells Thorocles to see Xena while he slits Leah's throat at the tavern.
Get over here!
The warrior princess tells Meg that Balius is a Delian, despiser of all things Hestian. But before she can investigate further, it's time for declarations. As this virgin confesses her sins, Xena takes Thorocles apart in between the juicy details. Great moments. Before long, he reveals Balius' sinister plots to annihilate the entire Hestian population. Back at the tavern, Leah witnesses plenty of debauchery while looking for Gabrielle. This shot of her looking at the petting zoo is especially hilarious. As the priestess leads Meg's girls into singing the praises of Hestia, another one informs them of incoming temple guards. Elsewhere, Joxer begs this Leah for forgiveness while completely burying Meg's character. Meg is not amused. Another Leah arrives and alerts the Mighty One of the guards all over the area. Meanwhile, Meg suggests to Leah that they switch roles so the guards don't catch her. But no need, one backflip and a double jump kick will do. Gabrielle brings the third Leah into the room, and we finally see all of them at the same time. There are too many well-armed guards outside, but Meg's girls will take care of them. That leaves Joxer, who's headed to the temple to save Meg. Through the window! Through the wall! Well, that wasn't very smart. Back at the tavern, the guards have been neutralized with debauchery, and two of the three Leahs head off to the temple with Gabrielle. But crap, Balius has the third one. Imprisoned, Joxer talks about the latest Hercules lore with a guard, as this Leah is tossed in the cell with him. As the Mighty One explains how they will escape, the priestess is way ahead of him. In the hall, Gabrielle and Meg come across reinforcements, and they must fight. Meg battling these dudes is great. The ceremony continues as the priestess nervously recites the words of Hestia. The virgins take a sip of their drinks and collapse. Balius celebrates and demands everyone to convert to Delianism. One issue: the virgins are alive. Surprise, this is indeed the real Leah, but Balius is set to kill her. Time for Xena. Gabrielle and Meg fend off the rest of Balius's baddies, with Meg hilariously selling the effects from her own headbutt. Great action. The warrior princess has 3 words for the Delian. Say your prayers. Killer flying kick! After a back and forth exchange, Xena receives some unlikely help from the Hestian Virgin. The episode ends with one last ceremony as Leah expresses her gratitude to her new friends. Another fun episode with Xena lookalikes. This would be the last installment of its kind for the rest of the series. Credit to Lawless for performing each of the 4 Xenas as well as she did. The Quill is Mightier, written by Bader and directed by Merrifield, aired a week later. Vandalism has occurred at this temple of Aphrodite. Xena's the bomb. The goddess of love is furious at those delinquent losers, but the god of war is not. Ares tells his sister her biggest issue is Gabrielle, the woman who has helped make Xena a legend through her writings. Pretty soon, when people think of love, they'll think of Xena, not Aphrodite. The solution? Go after the bard and her quill. At a campfire, the goddess of love listens in undetected as the warrior princess suggests for the young bard to write some fiction instead of Xena story number 46,853. The young bard complies, and this is when Aphrodite places a spell on the parchment. What could go wrong? The next morning, 5 barbarians invade the campsite. Gabrielle calls for Xena to wake up, but she's a heavy sleeper today. Before we know it, our Bard of Podadia takes the fight to the goons, Xena style. Backflip kick to this dude, killer spin kicks around her staff, squat kicks, and even negating a sword stab with her mighty abs. Wait, what's Joxer doing here? Gabrielle headbutt. She also sells the impact of this move like Meg did in the last episode. Brilliant. When the barbarians skedaddle, the warrior bard realizes everything she wrote the night before came true. The world is Gabrielle's oyster. With Xena off fishing, the warrior bard sets off with the jerk to do as much good as possible, like giving the Sisters of Gaia a kinsman's sword to sell for the good of their orphans. Problem is, it belongs to this guy, Scabarus. Meanwhile, the goddess of love instructs the barbarians to get back on their horses and go after the warrior bard. In a pub, Joxer is making shadow puppets as Gabrielle continues riding away. This time she gets this man to not charge a single dinar for their meal, and even drinks are on the house. Maybe the writing was too literal there, but Joxer doesn't care. Look at him chug! The god of war is having trouble convincing this warlord, Thelonious, that Xena has left the valley. Ares tells him to wait for the signal. You'll know when you see it. Back at the pub, everybody around Gabrielle and Joxer is drunk. As Aphrodite sits down to watch the show, the barbarians return for round 2. The warrior bard writes away, inciting them to go west, but that leads to the Gaia orphanage. Gabrielle writes for them to go east, but that leads to Echinacea. She writes the barbarians will become pirates, but they'll kill all who sail the seas. Aphrodite is loving every second of this. Finally, Gabrielle writes for them to hibernate in the caves. Now fed up with the enchanted scroll, she declares to not write another word. But we all know she lied. Gabrielle nullifies all of war's power, leading to Ares taking a huge fall back to Oit. In a panic, she writes the force that enchanted the scroll lost its powers. Aphrodite splash. Great, now what? Brother and sister ask Gabrielle to give them their powers back, so the bard writes for Aphrodite to be how she was before. Aphrodite splash. Looks like filling up the scroll to capacity won't help either. Back in the valley, Thelonious and his lieutenant, Monk, are still waiting for Ares' signal. This can't be it at all. Gabrielle writes for the arrival of the woman wearing leather and carrying the whip of Xena. Hey, Mighty Minya is back! Sweet! Minya geeks out while being in the presence of the god of war and goddess of love, but she has no idea who Joxer is. Back in the pub, Aphrodite is drunk, and Minya is excited to let Howard know the goddess is plain as dirt on a wagon wheel. Ares' reaction here is so funny. And look, Joxer invented the beer helmet later used by Happy Gilmore's caddy. The Sisters of Gaia are pleased to report they sold the kinsman's sword for a fistful of dinars to this guy, but Scabarus still wants his sword back. Into the caves with you. Those caves are gonna start getting pretty full. As Gabrielle ponders how they'll find Xena, mortality is not suiting Aphrodite well. When she advises Joxer to use poetry to win over the girl he loves, he begins writing some down on the scroll. Holy Aphrodite, it's a bunch of Gabrielles. 3 of them! Dancing to a La Duca song that sounds like soul bossa nova. In the nude. Thank you, Mr. Tapert. Ares now sees what Xena sees in Gabrielle. Do you really have to send them to the caves? Crap. Later that night, Joxer remembers the other piece of love advice. Presents. He begrudgingly trades his father's scabbard to falafel in exchange for a necklace. The next morning, Gabrielle loves the piece of jewelry, but not the manner in which Joxer got it. She hid the scroll in the scabbard. Nose grip. The new plan. Joxer is exiled to the caves, while everyone else goes after that peddler. Oh no, mortal Aphrodite hasn't learned about personal hygiene. Ugh. Gabrielle and Ares have a deep conversation about that steely gaze Xena has with everything she does. Yes. Wait, are they actually getting along? The tracks lead them to the same cave everyone has been sent to for the past 24 hours. Scabarus still wants his sword, making the peddler drop the scroll. Joxer tosses it back to Gabrielle, and the barbarians start waking up. What follows is an incredibly entertaining game of hot potato with the scroll all throughout the cave, with the occasional dance number from our 3 naked bards. Sweet. The real Gabrielle finally knocks the barbarians down with her staff, but tosses the scroll back to the peddler. He makes a run for it, while the young bard gets everyone else to chase him out.
But Ares is immortal. He could be killed.
Gabrielle reveals she sent the scroll to Xena. Shoot, Thelonious and his men view the running lads as the signal from Ares. In the nick of time, Joxer smells fish. No, it isn't Aphrodite. It's Xena, who has brought the scroll and a lifetime supply of fish. Xena says she headed back here after visiting every person who ever meant anything to her, but Gabrielle. Aphrodite then recites the key to ending the scroll's magic. Lies will make the world go round till true words have been written down. Gabrielle must write down everything Xena does in the fight against Thelonious and his men without embellishment. But great, she can't write action. Raining fish! While Xena battles the army, Joxer and Ares help Gabrielle write down every move. Trout tossing, octopus hurling, or was it squid? Swordfish darting, and chakram eeling. She must have done that for the halibut. Before long, the goddess of love
And the god of war
retain their powers. Mighty Minya goes off to reunite with Howard, and all seems back to normal. Only one last thing for Gabrielle to write. The end. Another great episode with plenty of laughs to go around. Who knew we would end up with 4 Gabrielles immediately after we ended up with 4 Xenas? Ares and Aphrodite dealing with their mortality together is entertaining, and Minya's return was a nice addition. Ready? Alright. Maternal Instincts, written by Chris Mannheim and directed by Mark Beasley, got us back to serious business on January 26th. Over a year after the events from Season 2's Orphan of War, Xena and Gabrielle return to the land of the Centaurs. Look! Up in the sky! It's a bird! It's a plane! It's Solon! He's growing up so fast, isn't he? Calliope, now played by Jeff Boyd, couldn't be more excited to celebrate a peace treaty with the rest of the Centaurs. As Gabrielle tricks Solon into a race, Xena tells Calliope her only intention for visiting is to ensure her son's safety well into the future. Elsewhere, a little girl is playing with a ball. She shoots, and it goes down this pit. Suddenly, the depths of Tartarus are opened, causing the little girl to faint. Out of the raging inferno appears a familiar face. Callisto. Upon the barbarian's return, she reveals some deep lore. She always wanted a child. Hey, it's Ephony and her growing son Xenon. Sweet, I like Ephony. Gabrielle's Amazon sister says the peace treaty is of vital importance for her son, but she quickly realizes something is bothering our young bard. Meanwhile, Callisto arrives to the village and does some renovating. Look at that face. These guys are screwed. Gabrielle explains to Ephony everything that happened to her in Britannia, including the part about hope. Outside, Calliope and Xena assess the damage to these burned souls. The warrior princess has a good idea who may have done this, but it would mean the impossible has happened. Before Ephony says goodbye, the young bard recognizes Xenon's toy was made by Centicles, the same Kringle who made the lamb she gave to Hope. Seconds later, an intruder is in her midst. It's the same little girl from earlier, introducing herself as Fela, played by Amy Morrison. Fela is desperately looking for Xena at the request of this monster god lady. How can Callisto escape? I don't know, but she knows Xena's little secret and will take it to the grave. No time to lose. Solon must be evacuated to the Ixion caves. Hey, where did Fela go? Ooh, the plot thickens. Fela says Xena's reaction to the little secret was like she had been stabbed by her own sword. Callisto loves it and grows excited to kill Solon. But the barbarian gets carried away brushing the little girl's hair, and somehow Fela causes the brush to fly several feet away. This is no ordinary little girl. It's Hope, and her father's kingdom is at hand. Dahak will snuff out the people Xena loves till he's crushed her very soul. And as she goes, so goes the world.
This scene is awesome.
When Solon refuses to be hidden, Xena tells him that Callipus only wants what's best for his son. Later on, Gabrielle bumps into Phaela and ooh, it's the Centicles lamb. The little girl claims she's had it all her life, verified by the people who saved her as she floated down a river in a basket. As this shakes Gabrielle to the core, the young bard tells Phaela to wait in her hut until she returns. Bye-bye, Mommy. Operation Escort Solon Through the Forest is on, but it isn't long before Xena smells burning. The barbarian goddess is back and sends the warrior princess several feet away. Time for Solon to meet his auntie Callisto, but it's Gabrielle. Xena wins this round, as even a goddess can't be in two places at once, right? In the Ixion caves, Callipus is on high alert when he hears a noise. Oh shoot, it's Hope. Using her powers, the daughter of Dahak gets this sword to... After Xena suggests Callisto has an accomplice, she finds the bloody Callipus on the ground. He assures her Solon is safe before taking his final breath. Now with both his parents gone, Solon wants to accompany Xena on her adventures with Gabrielle. Clearly torn by his request, the warrior princess commands him to be ready to go when this is all over, as they have a lot to talk about. Back in the Ixion caves, Callisto finds Hope temporarily weakened. The daughter of Dahak threatens to end the barbarian goddess along with the other gods if Callisto kills Solon. The goddess decides to wait, leading to the new plan: kill all the children in the village. Gabrielle desperately wants a word with Phaela. You rang? The little girl reveals she can move things, and Callisto says it's because the little girl is evil. Phaela's mother certainly thought so, since she attempted to drown her in a basket as an infant. This proves to be too much for our bard. Gabrielle says she had to place her in that basket out of love before giving her daughter a big hug in tears. Hope fears for her life with Callisto on the loose, but her mother promises to keep her in the safest place until it's all over. That safest place is... oh no! Ephne hurries out to escort the children to the Ixion caves.
What makes you think you can trust this child?
Gabrielle snaps, angered at Xena for always being so quick to blame her. And this, everyone, is where the warrior princess finds out the ugly truth. More ugly than the revelation that the child is Hope, and yes, even more ugly than Gabrielle lying to her at the end of Gabrielle's Hope. Xena learns that Hope is in Callipus's hut.
No. Get out. Xena. Go!
As the heartbroken Xena shrieks in agony, Callisto seems disappointed. Sorry, Ephne, Xena's not going anywhere right now. After scaring the daylights out of poor Xenon, the warrior princess shields her late son's face and walks out. As she meddles with poison, the heartbroken Gabrielle is rejoined by Hope. The daughter claims she ran out of fear as soon as she saw the boy dead. It had to be Callisto. She's the one after the children. The young bard has hope for Hope yet, until her daughter mentions Solon's name. Callisto roams the deserted town square, looking beyond dejected. Suddenly, Xena shoots her with an arrow. Hurts, doesn't it? Welcome to the club. Callisto misfires and eats more arrows from every direction, but she quickly sends back every single arrow to their rightful owners. Callisto then swings for the fences with the pommel of Xena's sword. The barbarian arrives to the Ixion caves and questions why the children won't accept her gift of oblivion. It's a dead end, and Xena is livid. Callisto reveals she only felt empty inside when Xena screamed for her son. You've already won the war. Not that simple. The warrior princess strikes the barbarian with a fury that would make the Titans cower in fear. When Xena refuses to stop after several warnings to walk away, reckless lightning strikes come into play. Fancy acrobatics cause the cave to crumble. With giant rocks falling down around them, Xena delivers more vicious shots to Callisto to ensure the barbarian stays trapped inside. The warrior princess dives her way back out of the cave, and Ephne has succeeded in saving the children. Meanwhile, Gabrielle has successfully used that poison she had earlier against her own daughter. Later that evening, Ephne leads the traditional Amazon pyre in tribute to Solon and Hope. With both our heroines crushed, Xena laments that because of the lie about Hope, her son is dead. Another I love you from the young bard only causes the warrior princess to break down. The episode ends with both of them going their separate ways. The Rift continues in the Bittersweet, written by the duo of Sears and Mannheim, and once again directed by Ole! This was the first episode of February 1998, debuting on the 2nd. Gabrielle is in the middle of a purification ritual. Problem is, this has been going on for 3 days. Joxer the Mighty has had enough of this crap, but Ephne advises him to let the bard work through the pain. Meanwhile, Xena is still grieving over Solon in the snow.
How much longer before you start doing something about it?
Ares says this whole atonement kick is not Xena's thing. She's full of fire, able to bend the world to her will with rage and revenge.
You know what to do, who to kill.
Gabrielle cannot be any more depressed. Oh, I spoke too soon. The barbarian reminds our bard that Xena is the one at fault here. The warrior princess's hatred for Caesar led the two heroines to Britannia. Without that grudge, Gabrielle would have never had the child of Dayhawk, the same child who killed Solon. You hate her for betraying you, for failing you, don't you? Joxer hears Gabrielle screaming and dashes inside. Uh-oh, here comes Xena. When the Amazons form a defense around the hut, Ephne's arm is shattered. I can't tell you how much this ticked me off. Joxer yells for help, but Xena prepares her chakram. Thankfully, Ephne is able to deflect Xena's toss with her good arm. As the Mighty One makes a run for it with the young bard in his arms, the warrior princess makes quick work of the Amazon tribe. She got her. Behold the absolute nadir of the relationship between Xena and Gabrielle. The Gab Drag. The helpless bard endures debris, fire, rocks, and water before evil Xena stops at a huge cliff. Good lord, look at her. Eyeing the ocean nearby, No, don't do it. It would take a truly heinous bastard to do this. The warrior princess yells, "Vengeance!" But our bard kicks her in the head. She hulks up, brother, finally having enough of this crap. Good gods! Gabrielle spears Xena off the cliff, all the way to Tartarus. Wait, how come Callisto is philosophizing? And where is Xena going? Who pulled her out of the water? Hey look, it's a dog. Holy Aphrodite! This kiss wakes Xena up in a hurry. Across from her is an eye? And the barbarian with a wig? Singing? This is Illusia! What the f? Illusia is music, a world built on rhyme. It's carved out of space in the absence of time. You've tasted how evil and good coexist, the bitter and sweet of it. All in the lips that you kissed. A freaking Xena musical! Through all the rhymes, Callisto recaps what Xena has endured up to this point before a lion, a bull, an eagle, and a snake surround that red wheel. The consequences are all Xena's own doing, and there's a price she must pay. Now it's Xena's turn to bust rhymes. You're acting so strangely that I hardly know ya, but I still wouldn't trust you as far as I could throw ya. That little ow when she hits the ground is great. Callisto says it was Gabrielle who betrayed her, and the bard appears at the wheel. Xena must spin. Meanwhile, somebody pulls Gabrielle out of the water as we hear Callisto philosophizing again. The naked bard suspects these must be the Elysian Fields. Suddenly, Joxer sings yet another altered version of his own theme song. Okay, this part is cool. As the Mighty One reveals they are in Illusia, he magically crafts a dress for the young bard. Elsewhere, Xena arrives to a dark place where soldiers are singing her praises. They welcome her home before forming a path to a throne.
It's the god of war,
who also begins singing her praises. Very well, I may add. The adoring public wants war kept down to a roar.
When in battle, keep your head.
Gabrielle is back in Podadia, where her fellow citizens are singing her praises, including her parents and her sister Lilla. The adoring public wants peace, simple joys that never cease. Peace, peace, peace!
Vengeance can be such a hoot.
Warriors love war, war, war! Villagers love peace, 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 war, peace, war, peace, war! Gabrielle takes a swing at Xena, but the bard is taken down and stabbed. This once beloved friend has been slain by her hand. Now with Xena in a red dress, Ares attempts to convince the lonely warrior princess back to his side through song and dance. Callisto returns and asks Xena if killing her friend has eased her suffering. Oh my gods, Xena killed Gabrielle! You bastard! Suddenly, Gabrielle returns!
But she is not amused.
The red wheel appears again, teleporting the two to this room. They can't help but resume arguing. However, each time they bring up the past, they can't hear one another. So Xena decides for them to talk about how they feel right now. The two heroines begin expressing their pain through song, but the blame game resumes. It's your fault! No, it's your fault! The wheel shatters, and the flame of Dahak returns them to the same altar from Gabrielle's hope. The next musical number begins with this frickin' Dementor, and he's not alone. Caesar, Craftstar, Callisto,
And Ares
all join the party. The fight is against hatred. Suddenly, Xena is crucified, and Gabrielle is bound at the altar. Gabrielle with contacts holds the hammer, while Xena with contacts holds the blade. At the last second, these two finally get it! They'll overcome their damaged past, and they'll grow stronger side by side. To stand together through the storms, they're safe 'cause love will be their guide. The evil spirits combust, and the two heroines are free. Beyond the wheel is the way out, and Solin. Gabrielle makes it through the purified waters, but Xena's hand nearly gets burned. Uh-oh, one spirit left. Ming Tian. Xena confesses what really happened at the end of the debt. She killed him. Yes, Gabrielle, she lied to you. Can you ever forgive her with this final musical number? Forgive her, and find out that you will be able to forgive yourself too. It's Solin's turn to forgive, as Xena deeply regrets missing his first step, his first word. She finally tells him the truth of their relationship. Forgive her, you two, and you'll discover that the love of your love is you. The warrior princess reaches her hand out to the young bard, and they both make it to the other side. Ming Tian is gone, and Solin now knows who his mama is. What a great moment. And here's another great moment. Our two heroines are back home. The festivities end with Xena and Gabrielle celebrating life in the water. Two more notable episodes in Xena history. Maternal Instincts in particular is one of the show's finest hours. Amy Morrison is incredible as the adolescent hope, and having her be Solin's killer was so well executed. As for the bittersweet, I'm not much of a musical guy, but I give the entire crew credits. It took over 20 days for the first and second units to shoot what they needed. Costume designer Nyla Dixon worked overtime on costumes, sometimes till the morning hours as the cameras were being set up for the day. That kind of dedication to Tapert's vision for a musical deserves a round of applause. With the rift behind them, where would Xena and Gabrielle go from here? One Against an Army, written by the duo of Gene O'Neill and Noreen Tobin from the legendary Journeys, was directed by Paul Lynch and aired a week later. Our young bard takes off, and with the help of her staff, she nails the Xena flip. Look at this real little Xena doll used by stunt coordinators behind the scenes. Gabrielle thinks she's ready for an attempt without the staff. She better take off on her right foot. Great, she didn't. Her reward? A sprained ankle. O'Connor legitimately suffered an ankle injury at the hands of a stuntman during the filming of this episode. Thankfully, it wasn't serious enough for her to miss any screen time. When Gabrielle's pride gets in the way, Xena uses the chakram to tear the young bard's boot. Yep, it's swelling fast. But this lad, Phidippides, tells them a huge Persian army is threatening to take over Greece by conquering Athens. Xena says this is the most ruthless army to ever take up weapons. Even the Spartans teamed up with the Greeks. The warrior princess instructs Phidippides to alert everyone in Athens while she works to solve the problem with an injured Gabrielle. Xena remembers the pass at Thermopylae, a shortcut from Marathon to Athens. It is there where the army must be stopped with a landslide. Gabrielle asks Xena to use the power of Laoma, but that purity of essence is gone. If the Persians carry on past the landslide, says Xena, they'll get to Tripolis, where a secret armory filled with deadly weapons awaits. Suddenly, a Spartan named Dorian demands for possession of Argo. Dream on, guy. Here's a shot at redemption. Join them, Dorian! As the trio progresses onward, there's a Persian spy in their midst. This ray of light leads to Xena instructing Argo to keep Gabrielle safe in the woods. Get ready, Spartan, here come the Persians. Xena scores a triple combo with her chakram, but Dorian hesitates to fight. Gabrielle returns with Argo to help him take refuge, but she really shouldn't have. This archer scores a colossal shot to her spinal. Xena has no choice but to pull the arrow out. O'Connor sells the bard's pain so well. Gabrielle hardly felt a thing, but it's about to get worse. The arrow contains poison. With only a day remaining before the main Persian army closes in, the two heroines must get to Tripolis to collect the serum. Xena tells Dorian to spread the word about the landslide at Thermopylae. But there really is no landslide. The warrior princess noticed a ton of inconsistencies with the so-called Spartan and is convinced he's really a Persian spy. Reused space from A Day in the Life. Xena searches the physician's hut for serum, but the bottles have been crushed. Plan B, abort mission and head straight to Thessaly. Gabrielle stands firm on defending Athens, but Xena is more concerned with preserving her friend's life. The young bard takes charge, willing to risk her health for the warrior princess to fight. Meanwhile, the advance party of the Persian army is approaching. Thankfully, the heroines have made it to the armory, with the weapons still preserved. Gabrielle, this is no time for last requests. You're gonna live, you understand? Later that evening, the Persian army's main cavalry is spoiling for a fight. This is the perfect opportunity for Gabrielle to remind us all that she needs new boots. Unfortunately, she starts to cough up blood. Xena has had enough of this crap, setting up a litter to get Gabrielle some help. The young bard contends that the greater good comes first. Honor my memory, says Gabrielle, by doing the right thing. Look at how much she has grown right before our eyes. Xena resumes setting up the defenses, including this giant jug of hot oil. Wait, maybe she can channel in the power of Laoma. Oh, never mind. Good lord, look at her. The fading Gabrielle recites her first moments with Xena back in Season 1's Sins of the Past. All the young bard wants is to be like the warrior princess, and all Xena wants is to be like Gabrielle. Great scene. Time up. Here come the Persians! The warrior princess meets the battle-hungry soldiers head-on, quickly taking out one of them with the chakram. Oh no! Thank the gods it was only a nightmare. The warrior princess changes her mind again, saying her responsibility now is the young bard's safety. Gabrielle denies any arguments, noting that she accepted the consequences of traveling with Xena long ago. How it may come down to this. And it has. If this is to be our destiny, replies Xena, let's see it out together. Man, seeing her in that state is so wrong. Xena takes our poisoned bard upstairs. Gabrielle's only task now is to dump that hot oil on the Persians. She then warns Xena of the man who will be coming through the roof with a double-edged sword. Oh, forget about the betrayal and chin, Gabrielle. You know she still loves you. Great, the Persians are coming. For Athens and for Greece! In a homage to the 1994 film Ashes of Time, the army breaks through and the battle begins. Fire! Xena takes out multiple soldiers with her trusty projectile in hand. Hey, doesn't this look familiar? She grabs a huge chain and whacks several more incoming Persians. Great action. As Gabrielle envisioned, the man with the double-edged sword busts through the roof. But the warrior princess backflips around the soldier and ends him. Now, Gabrielle, pour the deadly oil. Xena takes the fight to the roof. How awesome is this? After clearing out more soldiers, she notices that bastard Dorian down below with Gabrielle. That's all Xena needed. She jumps back down and beats him like a government mule. More of the defenses in the armory are put to good use. Soon enough, the warrior princess theme from the legendary Journeys perfectly complements the action. Dorian has the antidote! Xena kicks him around some more and neutralizes his reinforcements. Go home. There are thousands more like her. Xena!
Win.
Give Gabrielle the antidote now! I told you she was gonna live. The thrilling episode ends with our two heroines getting some sleep, but not before Gabrielle brings up those boots again. Another memorable episode capped off by a fantastic fight against the Persians. I know it really was a tribute to the Ashes of Time film, but anytime I go back and witness the final battle, all I see is this scene from Bruce Lee's Fist of Fury. Either way, this episode is a good one. Next is Forgiven, written by Stewart and directed by the returning Garth Maxwell. This one first aired on February 16th. In the Temple of Apollo, the priest known as Doris is conducting a purification ritual for past misdeeds. When these two go up to the priest, they seize the urn of Apollo. Desperate to reclaim the urn, the priest enlists the help of Xena and Gabrielle to get it back. As Xena goes off to fetch Argo, it's scroll time. Suddenly, a young girl tosses her drink at the table. This is Tara, played by Sherry Appleby. She has a huge problem with Gabrielle's face and tosses some food at her for emphasis. The young bard doesn't appreciate the interruptions, but this girl has a bigger issue with Gabrielle not fighting back. Tara shoves our bard to the counter, but still no fight. Man, is she lucky that wasn't a steel chair. The combatants bounce off tables, ladders, and chairs in between blows. This is so WWF and I love it. Tara scratches Gabrielle's face and uses the Mike Tyson strategy. She bites Gabrielle in the ear! Xena finally breaks it up and demands an explanation. Tara's here to replace Blondie. Wait, she's not a blonde? The warrior princess says the girl better cool it, or else she'll be getting a real beating. Tara says the Red Valley gang stole the urn, and she knows where their hideout is. All the little girl wants is a chance to be a hero, but Xena refuses her offer. Terra follows our two heroines anyway. Gabrielle is so in favor of this. Xena once again refuses Terra's help, but reconsiders after the little girl claims everyone thinks of her as a lost cause. Dude, Gabrielle really did get a Bruce Lee Enter the Dragon scratch job on her cheek. That is so badass. The plan: Terra will show them where the hideout is. Xena explains that Terra reminds her of a younger Xena, who also didn't have much guidance in her youth. Any more guff from the little girl, and the warrior princess will straighten her out. Later that night, we have 9 gang members ready to be destroyed. But you stay put, Terra. Xena sneaks toward the hangout, and crap, Terra didn't listen. Go back now! As I was saying, Xena sneaks closer and closer to Red Valley HQ. Are you kidding me? When it looks like Terra has turned on Xena, she guides this Lark guy away from the hidden heroine. The pinch is used, and Terra geeks out. However, the urn is not there. Gang member Wayan and his crew have taken it to Cilician traders for a fistful of gold. Maybe Terra does have a knack for this hero stuff. Gabrielle says you can't save everyone, but that gives her and the little girl something in common. Both think she's a lost cause. Time for Bede. Gabrielle wants to sleep next to Xena, but Terra has called dibs first. The next day, the two heroines and the heroine in training have found Wayan's camp. Xena, are you sure leaving these two alone is a good idea? Uh-oh, the fire has been put out, and there goes the little girl again. Gabrielle and Terra get dangerously close to the Red Valley gang. Hey, there's the urn! The heroine in training isn't down for any waiting games and crawls toward the urn bag. Great, she made some noise. And now they're dead. Xena returns to find both buried in the sand. The warrior princess sternly tells the heroine in training to start putting others first. Terra is angered, thinking Xena now hates her. Gabrielle calls her deluded, and oh shoot, here we go again. This time, the young bard takes the little girl apart with clubbing blows from the staff. The shots get progressively more brutal, but Terra refuses to stay down. Xena returns and the little girl breaks down in tears. This ends the beef between these two as Gabrielle helps heal Terra's wounds. Great scene. Time for charades! Gabrielle adorably reenacts one of her favorite plays, but no one figures out what it is. Iphigenia Aulis. Xena hilariously says this game is too hard and will never catch on. Terra's turn. Of course Gabrielle knew it was the birth of Athena. Time for Bede. Where in Tartarus is she going now? Holy Aphrodite, this sucks. The next day, the traders' horses indicate that an exchange is near. Inside the castle, the heroines bust through this door, kick some guards around, and search for the urn. There it is! But Terra says nothing is there, before running off with it. Maybe Gabrielle was right about Terra. Hey, why don't you lads get a room? This kid Micah demands for the urn, but Terra says they should return it, since people believe in it. Micah has had enough of this crap, but so has Xena. A brawl ensues while the heroines play hot potato with the urn. Look at Gabrielle go! Micah returns to confront Terra, but eats a jump stomp for his troubles. The urn has been saved. The episode ends with Gabrielle and Terra both being forgiven for past misdeeds. But in a homage to John Wayne, Xena chooses to walk away. I really like this episode. The story of the misguided person turning their life around is a familiar one, but I find it enjoyable here. Nice job by Appleby portraying the feisty Terra. King Khan, written by Mannheim and directed by Janet Greek, aired next on the 23rd. Joxer the Mighty is winning mega dinars in a casino. This man, Titus, offers to test his skills for double the dinars, but the Mighty One has to meet some friends. Uh-oh, trouble. In the town, two guys, Rafe and Eldon, are arguing over a golden nugget worth at least 50 dinars. Joxer has the solution: 100 dinars from the casino, 50 for each of them. Unfortunately, the Mighty One doesn't realize he's been conned. It was only fool's gold, and Eldon also took his sword. Meanwhile, Gabrielle's ankle is still healing, and Xena wants her off of it as much as possible. O'Connor was legitimately still recovering from her sprain, noticeably limping throughout the episode. Titus's guards beat Joxer to a bloody pulp, but he doesn't have the 100 dinars. Mercifully, Xena arrives on time to disarm Titus's son Leo before Joxer's head is chopped off. With the Mighty One so close to death, the warrior princess wants revenge. Back at the casino, Rafe and Eldon are gambling away. Xena drives this lad face first onto the table and demands to know how he got Joxer's sword. She forces the issue by poking holes around his hand. I like this visual. Eldon admits responsibility for conning Joxer out of his winnings, but not for the heavy beatdown. That is more Titus's style, the owner of the casino. The warrior princess offers an ultimatum: help her gain retribution for Joxer, or lose their tongues in jail. They both agree to join her after Eldon bets 30 dinars that Rafe can't get Xena to kiss him. The casino owner shows his son some tough love for failing to recover the dinars. Leo says nobody is stupid enough to exchange that kind of money for fool's gold, but all Titus cares about is his son finishing the job. At a temple, Gabrielle asks the recovering Joxer to fight because the two heroines really care about him. Xena returns with the two cons and hatches a plan to take Titus for all he's worth. If these lads help, they get half. As Joxer mutters in pain, it's clear that Rafe bears some guilt over the incident. Well, she did say she has many skills. The plan: Rafe is in charge of table odds while Xena wins over and over again. She also knows about your bet with Eldon, dude. All Mama does is win, win, win. But this guard grows suspicious, leading Titus out of his chamber. Eldon then causes a distraction in order for Gabrielle to enter the owner's quarters. As Xena's godly dice skills produce nothing but fives, Titus hears a noise. Okay, somebody help our young bard. The warrior princess cuts in, proudly claiming she'll own the entire joint and this pretty little trinket. Think fast. Look at Rock fighting on a bad wheel. Way to go, you. Everybody has a price, says Titus, and he's right. Xena wants everything. Next phase, get disguises and set up another con. Holy Hera. An angered Titus instructs Leo to find Joxer so they can use him against Xena. As the son begins his new mission, Gabrielle, Rafe, and Eldon stage a scuffle so Miss Amphipolis can execute the rescue. Leo buys the charade and volunteers to get husbandman a doctor with this couple's last 40 dinars. Sweet, they have Titus's trinket. Back in the temple, Joxer is gone. Eldon wants to bounce, but Rafe tells him they are sticking to the plan. Bet or no bet. Back outside, there's Joxer with Leo and the guards. Xena takes the fight to the goons, while Gabrielle leads Joxer to safety. Now that they have Leo, it's time for Zen. As she and Rafe debate the subject of detachment, there is a standoff, but they are interrupted. Meanwhile, Titus speaks with someone. Oh, not another betrayal. Back at the casino, the warrior princess challenges Titus to a winner-take-all game of cards. The owner calls her bluff after some inside information from Eldon. Disgusted, Rafe charges forward and gets stabbed. In his final moments, Xena kisses him goodbye. Titus is now interested in the card game to win back his ruby. The BC World Series of Poker. Titus's hand, full boat, warlords over heroes. But Xena has 4 aces. Titus desperately grabs his ruby and holds Gabrielle at blade point. But the warrior princess won't save her this time, Rafe will! Another brawl breaks out as Xena, the limping Gabrielle, and Rafe take care of business. In another twist, Eldon also fights the guards. The warrior princess ends the battle with a killer headbutt to Titus. The episode ends with Eldon being too paranoid to accept his winnings, and the warrior princess and con man saying their goodbyes. It's cool to see this show get its own casino-themed episode after all that glitters on the legendary journeys. But unless you really dislike Joxer, you won't miss much if you skip this one. When in Rome, written by Sears and directed by John Lang, was the first episode of March 1998, airing on the 2nd. Vercingetorix, the leader of Gaul, is in the middle of a war with his men against the Romans. His wife, Mendela, is ordered to lead the Gauls to the northern hills. The Romans return for round 2, and after Vercingetorix delivers a javelin to this guy, the odds become too much for the leader of Gaul. Julius Caesar has captured him. Meanwhile, in Syria, Roman forces are neutralized by Parthians. Suddenly, Xena provides a distraction with her war cry and a bag of swords. This lad, Crassus, is captured by the warrior princess. Crash drag. Xena says she intends to trade the member of the triumvirate of Imperial Rome for Vercingetorix. Matthew Chamberlain returns as Crassus. He was also... Yes. You know who else he was? Oh, it's true. He makes it clear to Gabrielle that he is no friend of Caesar's, but rather a member of a Roman alliance. Crassus, the one with the dinars, Caesar, the one of the people, and Pompey, the one with the army. Xena intends to use the Imperial Ring of Rome as a negotiation tool against Caesar. Meanwhile, in Las Vegas, Pompey demands control of the aqueduct, and Caesar acquiesces. It's Jeremy Callaghan, aka Palamon from Season 2's Blind Faith. Suddenly, the meeting is interrupted. Xena and Gabrielle walk in like they own the place, and Crassus's ring is revealed. After proposing the trade, the warrior princess offers to show Caesar that Crassus is still alive by leaving the young bard at his palace. Back on the ship, Julius cannot believe Crassus has been captured and chained by a woman he captured and chained himself. Caesar delays the trade so he can show off Vercingetorix to his people first, who have a vested interest in his capture. But Xena knows the Roman leader has no intention of trading Vercingetorix, so she instructs Gabrielle to switch him with Crassus before the execution. The young bard hates the idea of sending a man to his death, but the warrior princess says he crucified innocents in the village of Gardinus. At the formal showcase, Pompey asks Brutus if Xena can be trusted. Of course she can. Look at her holding up her end of the deal. Beautifully, by the way. The Magnus tells the warrior princess that even common enemies can make friends overnight, since not all of Rome loves Caesar. After the leader of Gaul is presented to the Roman public, Crassus claims he didn't order to crucify the innocents of Gardinus. The young bard sticks to Xena's plan, confident that Crassus's value to Caesar will prevent his execution. Xena then guarantees Vercingetorix his freedom and assures him that his wife and children are safe. Makeshift key! As Gabrielle snoozes away on a hammock, Crassus takes drastic measures to free his hands. Yes, that is a stuntman legitimately doing that. His reward? Another beating. As Xena hands over the key to Vercingetorix's cage, she informs Gabrielle that Caesar has delayed his gladiatorial fights at the Colosseum. With so much writing on the capture and execution of Vercingetorix, Xena says it won't matter who's in the cage, as long as the people see somebody get killed. The next morning, Crassus makes a run for it, but he cannot avoid the young bard's staff. She tells him he won't die if he presents the Imperial Ring to the guards. Now take this Alka-Seltzer. Poppy tells Xena that Brutus is after Gabrielle, since she holds some sort of power over her that Caesar wants. He also gives her his blade as a gift. Meanwhile, the young bard pretends to be drunk with the loopy Crassus, and the whole town starts fighting. For disturbing the peace, Gabrielle and Crassus are brought to a cage near Vercinix. Later on, Xena gets close to Caesar with that same blade in hand. Great, they got her. Congratulations, Xena, you are now the opening act to Caesar's spectacle. But surprise, surprise, Vercinix is free. Look at the Roman public, brought to you by the power of flocking. And he knows about your double-cross attempt, Pompey. Xena is indeed the opening act, purposely holding back to buy time for Gabrielle and Vercinix. Back in the cage area, remember how Crassus didn't want the innocents of Gardinus killed? He lied. These casualties include members of Vercinix's family. That's all Gabrielle needed. In a crucial turning point for the character, she holds on to the Imperial ring. Xena continues her facade to the delight of Caesar and his people. Finally, the young bard appears in the crowd, and the warrior princess theme from Hercules signals that playtime is over. Xena makes these dudes look foolish, and the crowd wants blood. But she spares this guy's life to a chorus of boos. Xena reunites with Vercinix, while Roman forces take this hooded fellow outside. Time for the main event, the death of Vercinix. Except it's Crassus. As Caesar angrily realizes what has happened, he proceeds with the execution to the delight of the unsuspecting crowd. Crassus begs for his life as Gabrielle is seen in the stands with the ring. But she can't stick around for the head chop. Great shot here. The show ends with Gabrielle questioning everything. Another really good episode that proved to be an important moment in the evolution of Gabrielle, beautifully capped off by the Imperial ring being tossed into the sea. Forget-Me-Nots was the next episode to premiere on the 8th. Another one written by Bader and directed by the returning Charlie Haskell.
She is not a child.
The painful memories of the rift continue to torment Gabrielle. Joxer says, I'm ready, before tripping on nothing. Gabrielle sets out to calm her restless state of mind. She arrives to the Temple of Mnemosyne, where two guards aren't in the mood for talking. Suddenly, a woman walks out with no recollection of anything. As Joxer surveys the territory, one of the guards finally speaks. If Gabrielle is to lose her painful memories, she'll need to pay a heavy price. Our bard says she's prepared to lose everything and heads in. Through the power of Mnemosyne, the Priestess accurately depicts Gabrielle's mental situation. To fix the issue, our young bard will need to endure an arduous journey through her memories. She must cross 3 rivers to find the answer to her pain. If she succeeds, it'll be her choice whether or not to keep her memories. Under no circumstances can this bowl holding her memories be emptied. Back outside, Joxer can't get past the guards at the door. He climbs the trees for a closer look at the priestesses sponging Gabrielle down. The Mighty One shall now take down the guards with the ultimate power of dirt to the face. But Joxer is too late. That Gabrielle is holding is merely a shell, as the real one has begun her journey. And here she is, wearing the same attire from the opening minutes of The Bittersweet. As she reaches for the River of Wailing,
The God of War returns, yes.
Ares says he's here to protect her because he's grown to like her. As Gabrielle steps into the river, it lives up to its name. Some of her worst memories flash on screen, including her first kill. Before we know it, Gabrielle is covered in blood. River 2, the River of Woe. This one runs deep, but our young bard is ready. Back on planet Oit, Joxer does all he can to help Shell Gabrielle remember who she is. Sorry, Jerkster, she don't remember nothing. And what is a potadia anyway? An ice bridge. All Gabrielle needs to do is not fall in the water, and crap, she fell in the water. This time, the pain from the debt rattles her to the core. The pressure is becoming too much.
That's the spirit. Let it go.
But wait, Gabrielle has the answer. She has come to terms with her mistakes, so back she goes to the River of Woe. Gabrielle keeps rolling on a river until icebergs entrap her.
Ares is amused.
The young bard is able to break out of the ice, but the search for an answer continues. So the money bra did get shorter, I knew it. Jerkster's been reading these scrolls all day, but nothing is coming back to her. He then takes liberties with one of her scrolls on the time they met, claiming she's actually in love with him. Not exactly Euripides, is it? Into the fire! The river of fire.
Is this truly worth it, Gabrielle?
She responds with an emphatic yes. After all, Xena and Gabrielle found their footing in Illusia.
Then why are you still here?
She enters the river, leading to a closer look at the scene from Det 1, where Xena is about to set sail. Wait a minute.
You...
Gabrielle walks through the river hell and makes it to the other side.
But now her strength is zapped.
Wrong. This isn't Ares. This is the part of Gabrielle who wants to hide
from the truth.
After Xena left for Chin, Ares poured it on, saying how Lao Ma must be more important to the warrior princess than Gabrielle is. Even after the young bard left her family, her home, and even sacrificed her own daughter. That's right, Gabrielle was jealous. And in that moment of jealousy, she asked
the God of War
to get her to Chin first. And by betraying Xena, she almost got her best friend executed.
Can you live with that, Gabrielle?
The young bard is so in love with the mighty one. Not. Gabrielle is back. And so is Xena. The warrior princess couldn't understand why the young bard would ask
the God of War
for help until now. In the end, the price of losing all her good memories was too much for Gabrielle, and now she's home. Fantastic clip show for season 3. Great to see O'Connor and Smith share more screen time after the Quill is Mightier. They really worked well together. It's time for Fins, Femmes, and Gems, first airing on April 13th after a slight hiatus. This one was written by the trio of Tapert, Armas, and Foster, and directed by the returning Josh Becker. In this temple straight out of Is There a Doctor in the House, Aphrodite is dancing, please don't stop. The goddess of love is going through her latest offerings. Remember everyone, she hates fish. Leader Myconus and his lads arrive with a special gift for the goddess, the Mystic Diamond. However, she can't hold on to that, it's a star from the night sky. Aphrodite orders the men to deliver the diamond to her priest in Parnassus so he can shoot it back up to the cosmos. And if the two heroines decide to interfere, she has the solution. Obsession. One whiff, and whoever is affected shall be obsessed with whatever they're looking at. Joxer tags along as Xena and Gabrielle must retrieve the diamond, or planet Oit will be in serious turmoil. Quick side note, the blooper reel of this scene is priceless. Nobody can see Aphrodite. Joxer looking at an art piece of Attis the Ape-Man, Gabrielle looking at a reflection of herself, and Xena looking at one of the fish offered to Aphrodite are all hit with obsession. The warrior princess says they have no choice, they must go fishing. A flippin' kite. Gabrielle seems a little too focused on herself, as Xena tells her to grab the clip on the line. Hey, she did it! Now eat kite. The young bard's owl here is as funny as Callisto's in Illusia. And now Joxer is eating bugs. Xena says that Aphrodite must have put a spell over him, causing his unhealthy obsession with Ape Man. She also notices Gabrielle being obsessed with herself. But what's the warrior princess obsessed with? Nothing, duh. Now let's fish. Well, listen my story about Gabrielle. Cute little gal who's looking really swell. Perfect hair, such a lovely lass. Nice round breasts and a firm young... ass. The warrior princess then creates an avalanche with her chakram to block Myconus and his goons. Now it's time for our two heroines to get wet. Oh, Gabrielle doesn't want to. Darn it. Xena punches fishes in the face and does her best Michael Jordan impression with them. Why does she do this? Because it's fun! Gabrielle is not down with fisting fishes. Instead, she walks to the lake for a closer look at her face. Xena puts Ape Man in charge of the fish, and he releases them back to their natural habitat. Wait, where's our young bard? Uh-oh. Xena pulls her friend out as Joxer celebrates with a backflip. Holy Afro! All Gabrielle wanted to do was kiss her reflection in the water. She determines there can be only one person for her in her life. Herself! Poor Xena. As Gabrielle brushes her hair, she tells Ape Man about Aphrodite's spell on him, but all he sees is the ape version of her demanding for some zug-zug. This part is so great. Meanwhile, we see a flashback of younger Xena fishing out the great Solaris with her brother Lycius. Xena takes a piece of her friend's golden fleece to use as bait for Solaris. The young bard is having none of this crap until Xena puts on her best pretty please face.
Web swing!
Aren't they forgetting about someone? The warrior princess makes it clear that catching Solaris is top priority. Okay, she really looks good holding that kite up. As Gabrielle yanks on the clip, she falls into the water again. The heroines then argue like every married couple ever. Isn't there anyone out there who appreciates Gabrielle's specialness?
Web swing!
Addis takes his princess for a ride through the jungle, and Xena approves. Ape Man is devoid of any clothing, so he is asked to put this dress on. Meanwhile, the kite falls back down, and the warrior princess must retrieve her friend to get it flying again.
Web swing!
Addis senses Xena from a mile away, but the animals of the jungle are not interested in helping. It isn't long before Xena grabs Gabrielle and Addis wipes out.
Web swing!
With the kite back in the sky, the warrior princess says the mystic diamond is perfect like the young bard to get her attention. It works, as Gabrielle sets off to retrieve the North Star. When Myconus and his goons enter the area, the perfect bard jumps in and destroys them. She's beautiful when she's angry.
Web swing!
Xena then gets Addis to go after the princess, as she is chased by the goons. Thank goodness too, since they were about to kill her.
Web swing!
Xena whistles her own theme song, as Addis's nuts are nearly shot. Funny moment. Solaris grabs the bait, but here comes trouble. Gabrielle tosses the diamond to Xena. Unfortunately, she loses her grip during the fight, leaving her at a loss for words. However, there's one last piece of bait she hasn't used. The diamond! As the legendary fish finally takes the bait, Xena cuts the rope and sends it blasting off again. She dedicates Solaris to Lycius before the spell on her is reversed. The warrior princess also reverses the spell on Gabrielle when the young bard admits she'd like more credit than simply being called a sidekick. The episode ends with Xena and Gabrielle admiring the night sky as Joxer is stuck being Ape Man for one more night. Fantastic episode! Aphrodite putting these three under her obsession spell results in some of the most memorable and entertaining moments of the show's run. On April 20th, we got Tsunami, written by Mannheim and directed by Lang once again. During a palm reading session, great danger and death are predicted. So nothing out of the ordinary. Near this ship, convicts are being sent on board to work in mines as punishment for their crimes, and one of them is Autolycus. What? Gabrielle is having none of this crap and instigates a brawl. However, the ship sets sail, and Xena jumps on board Lost Mariner style. Thaddeus, the mine owner, finds Gabrielle guilty of aiding a convict. With the bard facing a harsh labor sentence, Xena demands to know what Autolycus is doing on the boat in the first place. Two of the prisoners are Macon and Petrides, the former being a cynical bully and the latter being a younger, nervous wreck. The King of Thieves got himself captured because the mine they're headed to is the largest diamond mine in the world, of course. Suddenly, a loud jolt gets everyone's attention. Mount Etna has erupted, and the ship is dangerously close to it. With the sea level dropping and not a trace of wind in the air, everyone but Thaddeus realizes how dangerous the situation is. The ship must change course immediately. Poor Autolycus. Gabrielle asks what the problem is. Holy Poseidon! A huge tsunami scores a direct hit on the ship. Xena survives the impact, but the ship is flipped over and sinking deeper into the aquatic abyss. When she finds Macon, she makes it clear they only have so much oxygen to find the others and escape. Autolycus has also survived, and Xena hears more in the forward compartment. Soraya, Thaddeus' pregnant wife, is unharmed, but one of Thaddeus' legs is crushed. Suddenly, Petrides yells out that she's dead. What? Buried in this rubble next to this desperate dude is our young bard, heavily lacerated. No wait, the blood belongs to the captain. Gabrielle is alive! The unhurt survivors all lend a hand in snapping Thaddeus' leg back into place so Xena can stitch him up. Macon is in no mood for helping anyone, threatening to kill Gabrielle if they try to stop him from escaping. But how is he going to do that if they are already too far under? With nearly the entire ship flooded, time is running out. The warrior princess says to turn the rudder of the ship around so they can flow against the current and land on a reef. Macon would rather take his chances in the sea, and that was a stupid decision on his part, wasn't it? Xena is barely able to seal the door shut and gives everyone their assignments. Gabrielle and Soraya with Thaddeus and the captain. Everyone else bust the house down to get to the rudder. It isn't long before they find the rudder, but they're going to need assistance from this arrow to turn it around. Macon finally decides to help, and the ship manages to hit the reef. They are momentarily saved, but the captain has gone into deep shock. Macon attempts to drown Thaddeus as payback for treating him and the other convicts like animals. But he won't get to kill him with everyone waiting to pounce on him. Autolycus shares the guilt he feels for putting his friends in this situation, all for a few lousy stones. He tosses a wineskin in disgust, but this gives Xena an idea. Knock a hole in the ship to level out the water, and with the power of wineskins, they swim for the volcanic geysers nearby to shoot back up to the surface. But Macon wants to go through the hole and straight up. When the cynic asks for a vote, Petrides chooses to shoot him with a crossbow. But Xena prevents this with her chakram. The ricochet of the weapon causes a shift in the vessel's position. The geyser plan it is. Thaddeus tells Gabrielle to leave him behind and makes Soraya's survival her top priority. But you can't die, you're gonna be a papa! Xena and Autolycus clear out the last bit of wood guarding the new hole on the ship. It's time for everyone to swim for their lives! The King of Thieves accompanies husband and wife. Gabrielle and Petrides aid the unconscious captain, and Xena is joined by Macon. As the final two get close to the geyser, that bastard turns on the warrior princess. She has every reason to let him get engulfed by the geyser when she frees herself from his grip. but instead she takes a deep breath with the wineskin and goes back for him. Land ho! Everyone has made it to shore. The life-threatening experience has inspired Thaddeus to employ new workers for his mine, ones who choose to work there and are fairly compensated. And yes, Macon and Xena have also made it back alive. Macon is befuddled with Xena rescuing a killer like him, and the two heroines reunite with the King of Thieves. I'm sure I wasn't the only one who expected a comedic episode the second Autolycus showed up on screen, but seeing him in a true life-or-death situation with our heroines was a nice surprise, and the suspense presented here is real good. A wonderfully unique episode worth your time.
But wait, there's more!
Groovy.
Vanishing Act, written by Terrence Winter and directed once more by Merrifield, premiered on April 27th. Isn't this shot of our bard from Season 2? Gabrielle arrives to the Festival of Peace. Mayor Adar delivers a speech honoring this giant statue of Pax, the personification of peace. The next morning, the huge monument has somehow been stolen! Maybe this old grandma did it. Xena brings her down with the whip, and sure enough, it's the King of Thieves. Problem is, he did not steal the statue. Since he has a reputation to maintain, Autolycus must find out who's responsible and steal the statue back. Remember that favor Xena owed the king after Season 2's The Quest? Well, Autolycus is cashing in. The catch? She has to do this his way. Oh my lord, it's the Cyclops. The two heroines pull him out, and we learn the statue was taken hostage on a ship. The king then dons yet another disguise as an antique dealer and hilariously asks the wharf master for help with delicate cargo. Well, that didn't work. Xena used pinch! The wharf master reveals it was Tarsus of Syros, located at a castle on the island of Mykonos. Step 1. Size up the castle. Step 2. Have someone act as a fence in case the statue is being auctioned off. And Step D, discover that Tarsus is being played by dirty half-dozen member John Brazier. Wow, she looks good in that. Gabrielle poses as Myopia the fence. She fences. Tarsus is having none of this crap, ordering for the furnace to start. The statue is going to get burned, but the fence does not pay for goo. Ezra the New York Fence. The mole is part of the Autolycus way. Ezra encourages the burning of the statue, since it'll make it easier to sell and transport. And look, she has a servant! Bentley. I love this. The servant knocks over the torches, and Xena tosses her chakram at the furnace. The statue is preserved. For now. Okay, seeing him walk around in that getup is too funny. Hey, it's a painting! As the furnace is being fixed, Myopia decides to bid on the raw gold. We start at 15,000 dinars. Several bids later, we close at 400,000 frickin' dinars and the Ring of Apollo as a throw-in. Tarsus says it's time to party! Gabrielle is not pleased with Xena outbidding her, but it was all pretend, you. The warrior princess and the King of Thieves search for something as the young bard attends the party. Now to use superior technology to unlock superior locks. Or a simple kick will do. Tarsus wants Ezra down here now. And here she is, telling her idiot to make himself rare. Apparently another bidder is arriving the next morning. This lady, Thea, is fascinated with Bentley's hump and asks if she could touch it. Uh-oh, rattling. Tarsus reveals that prior to being a thief, he was a merchant who had to eliminate a rival after a disagreement. This merchant had a younger brother. Great. But no chakrams are allowed, so instead she cries in disbelief that Otto's plan didn't work. I know Lucy Lawless doesn't like her performance here, but I get a kick out of Ezra's hissy fit. Myopia has another chance at the auction, as long as her money is there before the Solosian general arrives. 20 feet of strong chain fastened by 200 strong locks. The King of Thieves likes a challenge. Look at her. When Tarsus walks out, Xena kicks the door open and sends this guy to another dimension. What a stunt that was. Now that we know it was Tarsus who murdered Autolycus' brother, the warrior princess determines it's even more essential to let the king get out of this his way. 64 down. Double back fist! 110. The next day, the king still hasn't shown up. Xena takes guards down, only to find out that Autolycus has left the building. The warrior princess believes he's now out for blood. Sure enough, the king points a sword at his brother's murderer. Tarsus offers him everything he owns, but it isn't enough. Xena reminds Otto that it may have been Tarsus who created the thief, but it was his brother Malicus who gave the thief his heart. The king backs away, and the melee is brought outside. Slow motion martial art goodness ensues as the three friends destroy Tarsus's goons. A backflip split kick from the warrior princess. Fantastic. After neutralizing Tarsus, Autolycus is tossed by Xena for the finishing flying kicks before needing a stuntman. His little ow is also funny. Uh-oh, here comes the general. But the statue is gone. Autolycus says he's the one who really stole it and confesses he's made other arrangements for it. The general threatens to slash Tarsus's throat if he ever offers goods he doesn't have again. Pax is back, looking a little rough, and peace is restored. The episode ends with Autolycus' reputation restored as he thanks the second best thief he's ever met with a kiss. Certainly not one of the cast and crew's favorites, but I like it. Sacrifice, written by Sears and directed by David Warry Smith, aired a day before Cinco de Mayo. Porcules! Suddenly, the same vortex from season 4 of the Legendary Journeys during the two-part saga Armageddon Now appears. I'm really looking forward to covering that. Out comes Callisto, who is no fan of Porcules. Ooh, another ritual with dancing women. Off in the distance, Gabrielle is looking for an old friend. Whoever this group is, they are celebrating the return of a goddess. There's her friend, it's Seraphine, played by Jodie Rimmer. She puts on a huge clay mask and climbs a ladder. This is really starting to look like this. When the leader, Werfner, is about to jab her with his weapon, Xena cuts in. She battles the demonic lads, but Seraphine refuses to regroup with Gabrielle. The young bard joins the battle while Xena runs after Seraphine. Suddenly, Callisto appears, killing the priest of the flesh before fire blasting away. When the two heroines regroup, both believe the goddess those worshippers referred to was the barbarian. But knowing that temples aren't her thing, Xena asserts there must be another reason why she's returned. Meanwhile, Auntie Callisto has brought her pumpkin a treat, the exact priest she asked for. Argo, go protect Gabrielle somewhere else.
The God of War returns, yes.
Ares asks if Callisto had a pendant around her neck, leading to Xena recalling the death of Strife during the Armageddon Now two-parter on Hercules. He's a little nervous about the hind's blood. Ares warns that Callisto wants the world and proposes an alliance to stop her. As usual, Xena is having none of this crap. More dancing women, thank you, Mr. Tapert. The worshippers have resumed their ritual, and Werfner declares the time of the blood has come. Seraphine is ready, and this time, no interruptions. Just kidding, Xena couldn't resist. That must be one deadly robe. Callisto. The barbarian herself is not pleased to be here and has the perfect plan to solve both their problems. But first, a sword duel. Wait, aren't you a goddess? In between clangs, the barbarian slowly taunts the warrior princess, and I love it. Finally, a fireball at Xena, but it is caught by Ares' chest.
The God of War
Promises to send the barbarian back to the vortex before this is all over. Him catching her energy ball and tossing it back is a really cool effect. But she's gotta go. Gabrielle has finally retrieved her friend. However, Seraphine has no idea who Callisto is. Xena then drops a bombshell. This is about the goddess of Dayhack, Hope. Seraphine claims the goddess Hope is the savior of this world, but she must have missed the part about Solon.
The God of War
Is all for killing Hope, but on his terms. The warrior princess is not interested in commanding his army, but it's clear her vendetta against Hope is messing with her head. If the goddess is vulnerable in her mortal state, they have a chance against her. Meanwhile, Callisto has taken Werfner to the place of rebirth. He nervously explains that only the blood of the Chosen One, the Priestess servant, can begin the rebirth.
The God of War
Demands every warlord who ever professed their allegiance to him to fight in the battle against Dayhack. Oh no. Gabrielle and Seraphine reminisce on old times, but the Priestess is not returning home. She knows Dayhack has a plan for people to die, but it's for the greater good. And at the Sister Peaks, the goddess is destined to emerge stronger than ever before. When Gabrielle reveals her relationship with Hope, Seraphine can't believe it. At the Sister Peaks, Werfner is talking to the egg. When he learns Callisto wants to die, it's much more than that. The barbarian wants oblivion, no Tartarus, no nothing. The goddess agrees, and Callisto couldn't be more thankful. What a shot that is. With the daughter of Dayhack attracting new believers in droves, the jet black-haired heroine heads for the Sister Peaks. You two have a visitor. Auntie Callisto can't afford to have Hope destroyed in the egg, so here's another sword duel. Oh, Xena, cutting off her limbs won't work now. And no fireballs. Rocks are not Callisto's friends. Ouch! Don't do that. Xena retreats but trips outside. Can you say nighty nights? Xena deflects another fireball with a shield and it ricochets off rocks! Nighty nights. The egg! Xena charges after it, but Ares can't let her kill Hope. Meanwhile, Seraphine continues her goddess sales pitch. The mother of Hope is the betrayer who selfishly killed her own daughter. How could Hope understand her powers without the guidance of her own mother? And how could Hope be evil if she is Gabrielle's daughter? When Xena returns with the news that Ares has Hope, Gabrielle says they must be in the halls of war.
The God of War
Forgives Hope for the death of Strife and suggests for the cocooned goddess to distract Xena. Behold, BC Resident Evil. The warrior princess knocks the priestess out and the three of them escape through the roof. When Xena heads for the south, Seraphine says Hope needs her mother more than ever, leading to Gabrielle setting her free to find her. Nice, now she should lead him straight to the halls. As Xena follows Seraphine inside,
The God of War
seizes the young bard and brings her to the Temple of the Fates. Gabrielle still owes Ares that favor for getting her to Chin. If Xena kills Hope, Xena will die. As if that weren't enough, Auntie Callisto has freed herself from the rubble. Seraphine has arrived, ready to serve up her life's blood. As Werfner winds up for the sacrifice, Xena cuts his blade with the chakram toss. The warrior princess furiously attacks the worshippers of Dayhack, but the priestess grabs the sharp end of the blade. Xena kicks the weapon away and fights the priest. Seraphine begs her to stop, but gets stabbed by Werfner. With the warrior princess distracted, the priestess holds out her bloody hand. and spreads it all over the egg. Xena winds up for the kill, but she is speared
By Gabrielle.
It's hatching. As Auntie Callisto grabs a front row seat, the rebirth of the goddess is upon us. Yes! Sacrifice 2, written by Paul Robert Coyle and directed by Jacobson, concluded season 3 on May 11th, 1998. Hope, the daughter of Dahak, has returned to planet Oit, looking exactly like our Bard of Bodedia, with a cool voice pitch effect to boot. This is so great! Using her new powers, Hope disarms Xena, and Callisto takes the fight to her longtime rival. I love the flash effect on screen as Callisto lands her clubbing blows to emphasize her godhood. Superb attention to detail by the crew. Xena is down, and Callisto prepares her fireball. But the warrior princess sweeps the leg, and more rocks! Hope prepares for her second attack, swords telepathically launched at Xena. The warrior princess uses her reflexes to dodge some of them and the chakram to deflect the rest like Captain America. When Hope runs out of ammunition, the chakram slices her arm. Seraphine felt that one. But the daughter of Dahak regains her focus and sends the chakram back at Xena, knocking her several feet back. Gabrielle begs for her daughter to stop, but she also goes for a ride. Hope prepares another sword assault, but Xena is able to bring down a giant shield with her chakram. Callisto bursts out of the rubble with another fireball, but Hope says,
Dahak has more important things in mind.
Back outside, Gabrielle explains the debt she owes Ares. The warrior princess would gladly die to kill Hope once and for all, but the young bard is having none of that crap. Xena lays down the law. If she must die to end Hope, so be it.
Do it.
Callisto burns Hope to a crisp. Just kidding, she made her look like her mother.
Evil Gabrielle.
Hope says that with her return,
The blood of innocence will soak the holy ground, and Dahak will enter the world.
but all Callisto cares about is oblivion.
When the daughter is finished with the barbarian, she will get her reward.
At a new temple of Dahak,
The God of War
kneels before his master and guarantees the fall of the pantheon of gods. Dahak's followers have multiplied, taking many villagers hostage. Werfner praises his savior before eating a backfist. Seraphine mentions the innocents being sacrificed is only one of Hope's duties, but she refuses to elaborate. As Xena clears out more followers,
Ares
appears next to Gabrielle. The deal still stands. Hope must die.
even if it means saying goodbye to Gabrielle's beloved Xena.
In the Temple of Ares, she always wanted to destroy one of his statues.
Tell me how you really feel, Callisto.
No fighting this time. All three are on the same side. The barbarian is having none of this crap, but Hope's decision stands. The Hind's Blood dagger is their goal.
The dagger that can kill a god.
Look at Ares' face. The daughter knows where Hercules put it at the end of Armageddon now. Callisto wants it now. Oh, looks like they are fighting. Hope quickly restores order since she has unfinished business with Ares. Holy Aphrodite.
You are so not like your mother.
No, she's not. Meanwhile, Xena, Gabrielle, and Seraphine witness Dahak's followers gathering more innocents. The priestess will not stand for betraying her god and nearly falls off a cliff. As Xena hangs on to Seraphine and a branch for dear life, Callisto returns. How will she ever get out of this one? Gabrielle's questionable strategy against the goddess is enough of a distraction for the priestess to fly up via killer corkscrew and the warrior princess to flip back up to safety. The sight of Ares and Hope in heat sickened Callisto enough to switch sides again. The deal: Callisto helps Xena take down Dayhack, and Xena helps Callisto get D'd with the dagger. And there goes Seraphine. The warrior princess brutally tells the barbarian to live forever. Back at Ares' temple, Hope approaches the same area where Hercules left the dagger in Armageddon Now. But
It's gone.
Joxer the Mighty tells the Dayhack followers to release the innocents. Seraphine knocks Joxer out and leads the way for the impending sacrifices. Callisto says Xena has taken this thing with Hope and Dayhack far too personal, and Gabrielle agrees.
What?
The young bard sways the warrior princess into accepting the alliance as only she can. Joxer regains consciousness, but his sword is screwed. Hope appears next to him, and he's happy to see who he thinks is Gabrielle. When she asks him about the Hind's Blood dagger, he has no idea what that is. Yep, she's done with him. Xena, Gabrielle, and Callisto reach another town being ravaged by the Dayhackers. The young bard helps a family to safety while Xena fights the worshippers. And Callisto? She launches tiny flames at the Dayhackers, but they turn big and soon fly everywhere. Look at how much fun she's having. Hope enters the fray, and her appearance fools Xena. Joxer notices Callisto wreaking havoc, but knocks himself out. The warrior princess commands the young bard to go to a crypt at the foot of Mount Areopagus for the dagger. But Hope slips up, and Xena sees through her trick. The daughter of Dayhack launches Xena several feet away before being evacuated by Ares. The race is on for the dagger. Back at the Temple of Dayhack, this is so badass. With Hope's curiosity satisfied, she declares her mother and Xena will be sorry if they dare come over now.
Oh, they'll come.
Now on horses, the quartet of Xena, Callisto, Gabrielle, and Joxer make their way to the next battle. This never fails to make me cackle. But the fun doesn't last long. Xena angrily clocks Joxer and demands him to get lost. The hell, man? Oh no, the Dayhackers got him. At night, Gabrielle snoozes away as Xena and Callisto have one last chat. No need for firewood with the barbarian goddess around. Suddenly, Xena senses Ares nearby because her skin is crawling. How does she do that?
The God of War
offers her one last chance to join him and Dayhack. But she doesn't, especially after figuring out that Hope is now carrying Ares' child. Remember how Seraphine mentioned the daughter had another duty back on Noit? This was it.
Congratulations, Gabrielle. You're gonna be a grandma.
The grandmother of one of the 6 destroyers. The next day, the sacrifices are in full swing. Callisto is not amused. Back outside, Gabrielle's maternal instincts kick in. She heads to the woods, and before long, mother and daughter reunite. Good lord, Rock looks so cool in that robe. The pregnant Hope gives Gabrielle one last chance to join her. Placing her hand on her daughter's cheek, the young bard expresses her condolences for not finishing her daughter off with that poison.
Death stare.
For further incentive, Callisto guarantees to make Gabrielle pay if Xena dies before their deal is fulfilled. The young bard is with Xena until the end. The warrior princess lets her friend know that no matter what, she's still the best thing that's ever happened to her. And with that, the two heroines crash the sacrificial ceremony and bust tons of heads. The innocents run out, but Joxer doesn't. Seraphine is clocked by Xena, and it's not looking good for Hope or Ares. The warrior princess clogs up the flames of Dayhack, and his daughter is not pleased. "Did you get it?" Xena asks Joxer. "The dagger. He's got it!" She catches the weapon from the Mighty One and backs Ares off. "This isn't over yet," referencing Callisto. But she's not on your side anymore. As Ares flickers, a tug of war between Xena and Hope begins. The warrior princess uses all of her might to force the dagger onto the daughter, while Hope uses her powers to keep Xena at a distance. Meanwhile, the fates are ready to cut off Xena's life. "You know the stakes, Gabrielle. Xena's fate is in your hands." Near a lava pit, something has to give. Xena's close, she's close. Suddenly, the young bard launches herself straight at Hope and... Gabrielle's... No! Psycho Barbie, what's so funny? Callisto says seeing Gabrielle sacrifice herself has given her a reason to live again, and it's all thanks to Xena!
No more living for you.
In a remarkable display of theatrics, the barbarian goddess has been stabbed by the dagger. But Callisto seems grateful that this has happened as she slowly drops to the ground for the last time. The season has ended on a cliffhanger. That'll do it for our long look back at Season 3 of Xena Warrior Princess. Gabrielle's decision to grab her daughter and fall down the lava pit would be the subject of deep discussion within the fanbase throughout the summer of 1998. The only way our bard's status would be cleared up was with a 4th season. Sure enough, fans would get it later that year. But as for the 3rd season, what a game changer. The entire Rift saga and the electrifying 2-part season finale are without a doubt some of the biggest moments in Xena history. The rating stayed consistent with the average rating of the first 2 seasons during Season 3. The highest rated episode this time was Warrior, Priestess, Tramp with a 6.6. As always, it's been great covering another season of Xena with all of you. Let me know you made it all the way to the end by discussing the following in the comments. What are your memories of witnessing Gabrielle and Hope fall down the lava pit for the first time? Thank you very much for watching, and battle on, viewers! "Put the sword down, now!" says Gabrielle, but Xena rushes her over to this tree. "Put the sword down, again!"